Can you think of predicting the questions that can possibly be asked in prelims examination 2021? If you think that you can't, you are a bit wrong. Now, why is it that we're going to say it so? Because there is a way the questions are asked. There is a way the topics are chosen. And there is a way by way of which some of the questions are asked in certain ways. Now, that is what exactly is going to be talked about today as a part of the third in the series of this lecture that is going to be on prelims examination 2021. The topic hinges on what are the sources for the questions that are going to be asked in 2021 in geography. The topic is how is it that the new questions can be framed, in what way that the question is going to be framed for any type of a question that can possibly be asked in geography of prelims 2021. So the entire exercise is going to be hinging around what will be the topic, how is it that the topics are going to be identified by a person who is setting your question, what will be the topic. Second is how is it that the examiner will go to identify what type of a question can possibly be asked from that topic, and in what manner is it that the topic is going to be asked to you. You may think that you have already studied the topic. You may go on to think that you know this topic, but still there will be one type of a question which you won't be able to answer at all. And that is going to be the crux of this discussion. You may think that you know the topic completely and that you are a master in the topic, but still there will be one question that can be possibly asked from the topic which will go on to bowl you out completely. You still will be completely clueless, left completely clueless in this case. You may go on to think that you are one of those persons who have studied and prepared your prelims examination very, very well, but still you will not be able to comprehend the topic and you'll be able to give a correct answer to this topic. We are picking up these examples. Now, these examples are going to be the most important topics that can be possibly asked in this year's examination. That's going to be one. And then what are the type of questions that can possibly be framed out of it? That is going to be the second component associated with it. So one of these topics is going to be asteroids. Now, one of the questions that can be found and that can be asked in this case is going to be associated with what are asteroids and in which belt is it that they are going to be found. What they will going to do is that is it that they are going to be found between Mars and Venus, Venus and Sun, Sun and Earth, Earth and Mars, and so on and so forth. And that is going to be pretty confusing in this case. Asteroidal belt is going to be Mars and Jupiter. Now, maybe that the question can go on to be asked in another way, and that is going to be, consider the following statements. And then when you're going to be asked out, consider the following statement, one of them is going to be asked about what exactly is an asteroid. That is going to be one. Then which is the belt? What is the asteroidal belt? The third is going to be, that is when they're going to come closer to the Earth. Is it that asteroids end up coming closer to the Sun and therefore closer to the Earth? Is it that they're going to deviate from the path? Now, in order that you can go on to build up a perception about this topic, this is what exactly has been given. Now, the reason why exactly this diagram has been given or this photograph has been given is because you can understand that they are going to be of three different sizes. One is going to be big enough, another is small, another is small, and the other is going to be still smaller in this case. And to think that something can go to land on this asteroid is going to be a marvelous job, all in all. And there are going to be other questions that can possibly be framed out of it. And that is one question has to do with the Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud in this case. Now, when we are going to be talking about Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud, both of them, then that is going to be about the nature of what exactly these clouds go on to be. The planetoids, is it that asteroids are going to be the same as that of planetoids? Or is it that planetoids are only rocky bodies and asteroids go on to be full of mineral resources? Some of these asteroids, that is like it is going to be in the form of, again, consider the following statements with respect to asteroids. That is, these asteroids are explained within the Kuiper belt and the Oort belt, then they are going to be associated with the rocky bodies and which are called as planetoids. Only few going to be having their moons as well. Now, the moment this topic is flashed to you, moons, you may go on to get completely dizzy. That is, how is it that asteroids can go to be having moon? But then that is part of it. And the planetoids and planetesimals, is it that they are the same or they are different? That is, planetesimals are going to be always different in this case, and they are the fragments of these type of asteroids. They never grow up large enough to become planets. Asteroids are always asteroids, and asteroids pass close to the Earth, and that is the basic reason that this topic is going to be asked to you. At least 2 asteroids passed very close to the Earth to such an extent that they were in the process of hitting the Earth, and that is what caused some amount of a problem in this case. That is why exactly that this was in the form of a question that can be asked to you. And that is, you'll go on to find the last one, that is PH27, which is the fastest moving asteroid in the whole of the solar system. Now, these are facts, but how is it that these facts are going to be related to each other? And why is it that you have to study all of these facts? Is because we have talked about in the previous series that anywhere, wherever you are going to be talking about any topic, now, what the examiner thinks is how many questions that can be flashed out of this topic, and that is the mode of the thinking of the examiner, and in which way is it that it can be thought of. And this topic is not only going to be a topic of geography, it is going to be associated with a lot of other aspects. For example, maybe that the topic is going to be of science and technology as well, and some of these components in this case will go on to be associated with, as you can go to pick up, that is, in order to mine, in order to tap, in order to go for asteroidal mining, there will be a high cost of a space flight. There will be unreliable identification for mining. Maybe that somehow you have landed on the asteroid. If we are going to be talking about one of them, high cost is one, unreliable identification. Ore extraction. How is it that you are going to be extracting this ore also in this case? Now, this goes on to become a topic of science and technology, and mind it. Whenever you are picking up a topic for the purpose of study, you must go to study in its complete totality. You are not going to be study it in form of whether it is going to be only a topic of geography. It is going to be a topic much more extensive than that. And it extends. This is a research that has been done by asteroid and on asteroid samples, and that has been by some of them like Hayabusa, that is Japanese, have done some amount of research on that. Hayabusa 2, then Osiris REX, and landing on the asteroid belt had been associated with one of those agencies in Japan, which we are going to be calling it by the name of JAHA. This is called a JAHA, although it's written as JAXA, but then this was one of the first instances of landing on asteroid. And of course, the fastest moving asteroid that we're going to be calling it by the name of PH27 in this case. And that is the name that is given. Now, it must go on to tickle your curiosity. Why is it that some of these names are given like PH, CS, TH, S9 and things like that? You must understand that with so many bodies in the entire of the space, in the whole of a space, it is difficult to give a name to all of them. Very, very, very difficult to give a name to all of them. And why is it that we're going to be saying it so? This is because simply we'll go on to get exhausted. You cannot go on to name one by Ajay, Vijay, Digvijay, and so on. It's not possible in this case. So you will ultimately end up naming it in the form of a number, something like S329. And there is an international nomenclature associated with that, NGC, National General Catalog. NGC 3829. NGC, that is 2569. That is for the stars. So how is it that the asteroids are going to be classified? How is it that they are categorized? And what is the system of the nomenclature of these type of asteroids? That is going to be the most important component associated with it. That is going to be one part of it. That means when you're going to study asteroids, you're going to study in complete totality everything associated with it. There has been a second topic. The second topic has been associated with climatic change. Now, associated with climatic change has been topics which are connected to certain things like astronomical causes of change. This is largely because a lot of work has been done this year in Russia with respect to astronomical causes of change. And it is because good amount of work has been done on astronomical causes. There have been some reasons and some correlationship with some events that have taken place in Russia, including the formation of a Siberian high, including Arctic fires, and they linked all of these to a person who had made a seminal contribution and a seminal research in this case, and his name had been Milankovitch. That is what his name has been, Milankovitch cycles. And that goes on to talk about three components: changes in eccentricity, that is the eccentricity of the Earth goes on to change, and that is going to be a 1 lakh year cycle. What exactly that it will going to do? That it can be seen that is the Earth's orbit shape varies between some amount to another amount. And what exactly will be its impact? Is it that the summer will go on to become very intense, or is it that the winter will go on to become very intense? Now, that goes on to become one of these questions which you're going to answer with your curiosity in this case. That is one. Second is you're going to pick up axial precession. There is wobbling of the Earth. Now, such type of wobbling, that is it that the Earth wobbles? It is not straight on its axis. It's not going to be 23.5 degrees. It keeps on wobbling on its axis. This type of a wobble had been observed by another person called a Chandler. Like Milankovitch, it has been another person called a Chandler, and such type of wobbling will go on to cause an intense amount of a change that is going to be taking place in the polar areas, and this goes on to follow 26,000 year cycle. There is after 26,000 years, there will be definitely some amount of a change, whether there is global warming or no global warming in this case. There is going to be a part associated with it. And then you go on to be talking about again, in this case, that is changes in the obliquity. It's a 41,000-year-old cycle, and that is relative to the orbital plane. This keeps on changing, and when it keeps on changing, the polar areas and the whole of the northern hemisphere or the southern hemisphere goes on to get cooled or warmed because of that factor. So that is going to be one of them. We're going to simplify this part for you by picking up another part of it associated with it. Obliquity, that is the tilt of the Earth's axis. Precession, that is going to be a 19 to 23,000 year old history. That is precession of equinoxes, which is the wobbling of the Earth. And then the eccentricity, which is a 40,000, 4 lakh, 1 lakh to 4 lakh a year history. And it keeps on changing. That is the orbit in which the Earth goes on to move, that is going to change. And all of these things will go on to bring about a separate type of a change on the Earth in terms of whether the polar areas will go on to become warmer, whether the winters will go on to become warmer or cooler, whether the northern hemisphere will go on to become warmer or cooler. That is how exactly the change will be. All of these change will not go on to be only in terms of what is called as climatic change. That is one. And we are going to be talking about astronomical causes only. And why is it only astronomical causes? Because astronomical causes has been in news. And the people associated with it, one of them has been Milankovitch, another has been associated with Chandler wobble, that is the wobbling of the Earth that was explained by him. Second has been associated with the temperature of the oceans. Why the temperature of the oceans have been significant is because this is the topic that is always in news, and it keeps on becoming in news more and more and more. Now we are going to be talking about so many aspects, like the uppermost layer is going to be called by the name of eplimnion. That is going to be the first part in the ocean. That is the vertical stratification of the ocean that is going to comprise the topmost layer. That is going to be eplimnion. Then below that is going to be thermocline, and below that is going to be hypomnion. Now you require to know that is this type of a stratification and all the concepts associated with this stratification. Now understand the concept associated with this stratification. Now, what we are going to be talking about in this case is that when you're going to pick up something like a eplimnion, that is the upper layer. Now, this upper layer has a good amount of a mixture with the atmosphere. Because there is good amount of a mixture that goes on to take place with the atmosphere, the upper layer goes on to be having a very good mixture of oxygen with it. And when oxygen goes on to mix with it in a very good manner, then the upper layer is one that is going to be livable. It is going to be the one layer in which there will be a good amount of life. The upper layer is the one that will go on to mix with the air, that will go on to have bubbles, that will go on to have water bubbles, where the bubbles will keep on bursting, and so on and so forth. Upper layer is the one that will go on to have a good amount of a photosynthetic capability as well, largely because the sun's rays will be able to penetrate. All of these sun's rays will be able to penetrate up till here. This is the upper layer, and that is why the sun's ray will be able to penetrate up till this point. This is what we are going to be talking about. That's why it is going to be called as the photic zone, also a eplimnion. So maybe that one of these questions that is going to be asked to you in this case is, consider the following statements with respect to the upper layer in the vertical stratification of the oceans. 1. The upper layer is going to be called by the name of eplimnion. The second is the upper layer has a large amount of a mixture of oxygen along with sun's rays. The second is the upper layer going to be very, very dirty, and it is a grayish in color near to the coast. The fourth can go on to be the upper layer has a photic zone where a good number of plants are going to grow. The fifth is the upper layer is going to be richest in terms of biodiversity, of course, because that is the place where a good number of fishes will be found. Now, the moment you start deriving these conclusions, you will start coming to know this is what is the layer and how many things can go on to happen associated with it. It's not only that because the thermal stratification of the layers of oceans have been used, they will go to ask you only eplimnion, thermocline or hyplomnion. They are going to be asked about everything associated with it. Thermocline is going to be, it's a transition zone because the name is thermocline. It's a transition zone between a hyplomnion, and a hyplomnion will be, all in all, the characteristic of it will be one, because this is a layer in which there will be hardly any amount of a sunlight reaching, and because the sunlight doesn't going to be reaching hyplomnion, it will be dark. That's number one. So will there be any amount of a life? Number one. Second is that it will be without life. Third will be that it will be darker in color as well. Fourth will be that this will be in a frozen form. Will it be? Never possible, largely because of two reasons. One of them is that the salinity will be high, and the second is that the pressure is also going to be high. Otherwise, at such type of temperature, it may be, but oceans never ever can go on to be frozen, and they can never be frozen below. Now, why is it that the oceans can never be frozen below? That is, the moment it freezes, the density of ice is lower than that of its liquid. That is, water is the only thing that we know whose density, that is when it cools, its density is going to be lower than that of the liquid. The solid body has a density that is lower, and that is what exactly allows it to float. So it will not go to get cooled. So is it that in hyplomnion you are going to be finding some type of organism? The answer is that, of course, you will go on to find a good number of organisms in hyplomnion. And why is it so? Because some of them will be adapted to it. And which are the type of organisms that you can expect to find in these regions? One of them will be that all of them which go on to be showing some type of a phenomena such as called as bioluminescence. And when we are talking about bioluminescence, then we are essentially talking about the ability of the organism to emit light. Now, again, we are going to be following the principle of curiosity. So, if you go on to bumping yourself into bioluminescence, then you must go on to consider that that this bioluminescence, you can also going to explain why is it that the phenomena goes on to be taking place. That is, bioluminescence is essentially emanated by photophores, some of these organisms which go on to be having a photophores. Not only that, that is, they are going to be a combination of two of these enzymes. One of them is going to be called as a luciferin, and other is going to be called as a luciferase. Now, these are the additional names that you are bound to know in this case. That is, photophores, luciferin, luciferase. Only then the topic is going to be completed in this case. And which are some of the type of organisms that may going to live in this space. Of course, there will be limit as to how many of them that you can go to know that about bioluminescence. But then one of these most well known is going to be deep sea gulper. That is the name given to it. It is one of these creatures, one of those fishes, which will be having a small body, a very small body, maybe only of this much in size, and then its mouth will be big, much more bigger than that of its body, and it keeps on remaining in the benthos area. It keeps on being in the benthos area, and it is in this benthos area that it survives. It takes one meal in the whole of the year, and that is how it is able to survive in this place also. So, when you are picking up let's say, the thermal stratification of the oceans, even then, the questions, that is, anyone going to ask you a question that is not going to be simple at all. And that is what we are going to be talking about. So that even if you are studying this topic, you must going to study in all of its complexity, not only complexity or none of its diversity that may going to make it complex for you, may not be able to make it complex as well. Pick up the second one. We are still going to be talking about the temperature of the oceans, and our concern in this case is going to be now not vertical, it is going to be horizontal spread of the temperature conditions. And there had been two things that have been in news. Now this is going to be, one of them has been associated with a AMOC, Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation. Now maybe that is going to be asked to you in form of an acronym, perhaps. That is one. The second is going to be with thermohaline, and the meaning of it, that is going to be thermal, one, and that is going to be haline, two of these words, which are going to be used in an interchangeable manner here. And when we are going to be talking about both of these words, you will also go to understand two components associated with it. Picking up thermohaline, for example. Now, thermohaline circulation, we are talking about circulation. The first, in this case, the catchword is going to be associated with circulation. That is movement of the water of the ocean, and that is going to be called by the name of circulation. That is the name that is given to it. The water moves from one place to another place, and it's not in the form of currents always. It is going to be in the form of a circulation. And when you're going to be talking about circulation, then it is going to be vertical, that is up and down, and it is going to be horizontal as well. That is comprising both of them, and that is what goes into comprise a circulation. So maybe the first question that is going to be asked to you, that is the basic difference between ocean currents and thermohaline circulation is that circulation is both horizontal and vertical. Currents are only horizontal. Currents can be drifts. Currents can be also currents. It can be streams also. But thermohaline circulation will go to comprise gyres as well at the same time. Now, that is how all of these terminologies associated with it. And when you go to pick up such type of terminologies, you will go to find its use as well. For example, one of these terminology in this case is going to be gyre. Once you understand it, you also going to understand this type of a terminology that is going to be gyre. The second of this is going to be associated with currents. That is going to be the second word, currents. Associated with current is going to be drift. Associated with it is going to be stream, like that of Gulf Stream. That's going to be the fourth part. And the meaning of all of them, is it that they all going to mean the same, or is it that they are going to be meaning something different? That's one component. Second is, now having got to know about a thermohaline circulation, Now this circulation goes on to move in the form of a warm current. That is going to be moving in the form of a warm current. As you can go to pick it up here, it goes on to move exactly in that form. That is, this is going to be moving in the form of a warm current. Then near to this place, that's the place where it goes on to sink. Now, why is it that it goes on to sink in that place? It goes on to sink in this place, aided by what we're going to be calling it as a densification. That's the name that is going to be given to it. Densification. And densification is aided by, in this case, that is by two components. That is, it is going to be aided by, one of them is the mixing of the ocean currents. Here, there are going to be three currents that are going to mix. One here, another here, and the third here. All three of them go to mixing. So, in general principle, when a lot of currents with different type of properties go on to mix, then they go on to cause the water to sink. Now, you may go on to think that this is something that we are going to be talking about very technical. It's not technical at all. It is only a product of your natural curiosity. That is, when currents are going to be meeting and different currents are meeting with different type of properties, the only place they can go to go is down. That is one, densification. And it is this densification that is significant. Of course, it is a term. When we're going to be talking about that is maybe technical part, it will going to have a term, and that term is going to be called as cabling. But then that's not significant for you at all. It's not at all significant for you. So coming back to it, so the current is going to sink in this place. Now the question can go on to be, supposing that this is going to be slowed down, what will happen? Or maybe that the speed goes on to get slowed down, what will happen? That's number one. Second is that it goes on to sink, and which are the places where it goes on to be coming onto the surface. Now it's coming onto the surface is going to be called by the name of upwelling. And this is the place where it comes onto the surface. That's going to be one. In Indian Ocean, it comes onto the surface. It comes on the surface in the Pacific Ocean as well. These are the two areas. Now, wherever it comes onto the surface, in the form of a cold current, of course, the cool current comes onto the surface. Then these are the areas that are going to be rich in terms of fisheries resources, rich in terms of biotic resources. So they are going to be in general very, very rich in this case. Now, when we are going to be talking about all of them, that is both of them here as well as there, in both of these conditions, what we are going to be talking about is that is, it goes on to cause the whole of the movement of the entire of the world, with the most important component in this case being that is Antarctic circumpolar current. That is going to be important. And why is it that Antarctic circumpolar current has gone to become important now? That is because Southern Ocean has been found, and Southern Ocean has been given a completely new name. And also that Southern Ocean has been one of those type of oceans that have been vogue, that is going to be in news. So this is going to be Antarctic circumpolar current here. So one component is going to be associated with thermohaline circulation, and of course associated with all of these type of currents. The second is, of course, it is connected to it. That is as we're going to say, that is going to be AMOC. AMOC is Atlantic meridional overturning circulation. And overturning circulation in this case is what we going to know of this part. This is going to be overturning circulation. This is where the water goes on to overturn. This is where what it goes on to get upturned. And of course, overturning here as well, that goes on to be taking place. But this is going to be overturning, not upturning. And that is that's going inside in this case. And the currents go on to keep on moving on the floor of the ocean in some. Now, the topic is in news only because AMOC is declining. That means its speed and intensity is going to be decreasing. Now, here comes another type of a question that can be framed out of it. What happens if AMOC that goes on to experience a decline? So, and any decline that goes on to consider what will happen to Greenland. That's number one. What will go on to happen to the Arctic region? What will happen to the glaciers in that place? What will happen to the waves in that place? What will happen to the rotation of the Earth in this region? What will happen to the climate? Now imagine so many of these questions that it goes on to throw itself open. There is what is going to happen to Greenland, what will going to happen to Arctic, and think of it. There is AMOC has started showing certain type of decline, and because it is showing certain type of decline, what will happen is because of this decline, Greenland ice sheet will go on to collapse. It will go on to melt. The molten water will go on to find itself onto the surface of Atlantic Ocean. So the whole of the Atlantic Ocean will go on to become cooler. And as the Atlantic Ocean becomes cooler, the whole of this Atlantic Ocean becomes cooler, then the air above it also goes on to become cooler. And when the air goes on to become cooler, then the whole of North America will also go on to get cooled. Not only North America, Western Europe will also go on to be cooled. And if the moment there is a collapse, it is going to be a real anathema to the whole of the world. That is going to be one. Arctic region, of course, it will go to cause acidification of the whole of the region. The glaciers, all of these glaciers in Norway, in Greenland, they will start melting. And of course, once they start melting, they're going to release a lot of fresh water in this case. And once this fresh water goes on to be taking place, this fresh water, cold fresh water, will go on to allow the climate to drop, the climate to change. And once the climate goes on to change, and once it goes on to become cooler thereafter, global warming actually goes on to lead to global cooling. And this is one. AMOC will go on to collapse because of global warming, and its collapse will go on to allow a good amount of fresh water and cold water to spread itself onto the surface, which will go on to initiate a global cooling of sorts. What will happen to the waves? The waves will go on to become very large. And if you remember, if you recall, the day after tomorrow, entire theme had been associated, that movie's entire theme had been associated with how is it that AMOC is collapsing, and what will be the repercussions of the collapse of the AMOC in this case. So it will go on to lead to a type of a tsunami. If you have seen that movie and mind it, you're going to see it in a series of this type of a lecture on AMOC in the same channel. You're going to take a look at it. You will go to find it, AMOC and its decline and implications of it. You will going to find it there. Waves will go on to increase, and they're going to take a form of a tsunami as well. Rotation of the Earth is going to be affected, and if the Earth's rotation goes on to get slowed down, God help Earth. And lastly, the climate. Now, with all of these type of changes, who say that the climate will not going to change at all? This is bound to happen. The next topic that is going to be news in the interlinking of the rivers. Interlinking has been news essentially because of a Ken-Betwa link project. Now, this is one of the first projects that have been taken with respect to the linking of the whole of the rivers in the country. Now, understand that it's not only that the question will be going to be asked only with respect to Ken-Betwa link, although the major focus of the question is always going to be on the link itself. But then that will go on to include so many of the questions. One of them is that what exactly is the nature of the link? Is it going to be the canal that is going to be solid? Is it going to be concrete, or is it going to be a natural canal? Is it going to be completely straight to lessen the distance between both of these places that is going to be linked between two of these rivers? That's number one. Is it that the water will going to flow from Betwa to Ken or from Ken to Betwa? There is going to be another of this question that can go to be a part of it. Now, the third of this question is, so which are the regions and which are the districts through which it is going to be passing, which are the nodal regions which will go on to get it connected. The fourth of this question is going to be, in this case, it is going to be passing through the Panna Tiger Reserve, and to what extent it will go on to affect the Panna Tiger Reserve, because that is going to be one of those that areas which will be severely affected of sorts. Now, the effect on Panna Tiger Reserve is going to be in the terms of the shifting of the tiger population, or is it going to be deforestation, or is it going to be fragmentation of the habitat, or is it going to be degradation of the habitat? In which way it is going to be in general? That is another part associated with it. Now, even if it is that deforestation is going to be taking place, now which are the type of trees that will go on to be mostly affected? Is it going to be teak? Is it going to be shisham? Is it going to be some type of a cacti? Is it going to be amalthas? What type of trees in this case? And which region will go on to be getting this benefit out of a KBLP, that is Ken-Betwa Link project? And having discussed that part associated with it, maybe there is another dimension that you have to look for, that is the amount of investment that is going to be taking place in this case. And of course, all of these rivers that you're going to find in this region. And we are going to be talking about rivers means that is, these are the places which is going to be mostly significant here. That is going to be the main place. That is Ken-Betwa. That is number 24, which is going to be mostly affected by the region. So understand that part. The question may be also asked with respect to connecting Chambal, Betwa, Ken and Son, all of them from north to south. This is something that can be connected in that way. And how is it that the tributaries of Yamuna are going to be? And is it a tributary, or is it going to be a sub-tributary of the Yamuna? Or is it going to be a sub-tributary of the Ganges in this case? Now, these are going to be observation-based questions here. Now, once having talked about it, you will also go on to understand that the question will go on to hinge around the issues in interlinking. And when we are going to be talking about issues in interlinking, that means the advantages, all the advantages that river linking has. For example, how many dams, proposed dams, are going to be built as part of the interlinking, national interlinking of the rivers? So something like some 6,500 of sorts. And which are the rivers which flow will be reversed? Is it that the flow of the Ganga is going to be reversed, or is it that the flow of another river, that is Brahmaputra, will be reversed in this case? That is going to be another part. Now, other than that, how much amount of a power generation it will go on to entail? Is it going to be 6,500 megawatt, 10,000 megawatts, 1.3 lakh megawatts? How much amount of it? How many areas, how many people will go on to be ultimately affected? There is a 1.3 crore, 1.5 crore. Now, that will go on to be all the benefits associated with it. But then you're going to be having problems also at the same time. Now, the problems are going to be at different levels. One is going to be at the ecological level. Most of it is going to be at the ecological level. For example, you must know, and also you must go to imbibe as a part of this concept, that whenever such type of interlinking takes place, then you change the chemistry of the river. Is it good? Number one. Second is that when you go on to increase the flow or decrease the flow, you also go on to bring about a change in the habitat of the region concerned. For example, if you go on to reduce the amount of water in the Ganges, then West Bengal will go on to get affected. That is number two. Number three is when you go on to bring about certain type of a change, then is it that it will also go on to alter the water chemistry of the Indian Ocean, because the amount of water moving into Indian Ocean has decreased? Of course, the answer is yes. If we go on to decrease the total salinity of Indian Ocean, will it affect evaporation from that region? Answer is yes. If it is that the evaporation is going to be affected, will it also go on to affect the total amount of a moisture content of the monsoons? The answer is yes. Is it that such type of a river linking in the upstream areas will also go on to entail fragmentation of the habitats? Of course, the answer is yes. Is it that such type of a river linking will go on to entail excavation of a large amount of an earth and its rate deposition, and that will go on to mean altogether a different type of a problem? That is going to be, answer is again going to be yes. Will it facilitate inland water transportation? The answer will still go on to be yes. And when you go on to talk about good number of areas, good number of amount of concepts, and so on and so forth, you will come across how many advantages, how many disadvantages, which and which rivers is it going to be in the proposed region. Mahanadi is going to be linked in which manner? You go just going to take a look at it. Son and Ganga is going to be linked in this manner. And in here, as you go to take a look at it, which are the rivers that are going to be linked? That is all the way from here, that is Brahmaputra is going to be linked across Suvarnarekha, and variety of these type of rivers that are going to be draining themselves into Odisha. And one of those rivers, even smaller rivers can go on to be asked to you, and these rivers can go on to be, all of these rivers can go on to be associated with, can you imagine, Katzuri. So that means one of these rivers that is going to be in Cuttack, that is a river that is a combination of joining of two of the wooden logs, cut, that is a wooden log, and Judy, and both of them have got themselves connected in this manner. So that is how exactly Mahanadi is going to be linked in this case. Mahanadi and Godavari is going to be linked in this manner, and then so on so forth. All of these rivers are going to be a part of it here. So the question will not going to center only around, in this case, only around Ken-Betwa project. Now, this is the nature of the question. This is what exactly we discussed in the second series of it. So, when you are talking about Ken-Betwa, you must go on to also pick up the components associated with it as much as your natural curiosity can go on to take you further. As much as you can train your curiosity, and it is significant for you to train your curiosity, because without having trained your curiosity, there is no way that you will be able to answer these questions. Maybe what will going to happen most likely is that there will be one question from Ken-Betwa, and there is going to be another question that is going to be from the overall linking of the rivers. The next part is going to be Tibetan Plateau. And why is it that the Tibetan Plateau in news? Now you know it much better. Why is it that this has been in news? It is bound to be in news because of Chinese aggression, because Tibetan region has been under threat, because of a variety of factors that are going to be affected by that. Now, one of these most important factors here is going to be the questions that can go on to get itself associated is the first is going to be associated with the rim of the Tibetan region. That is the whole of this region that we're going to be calling it the rim. Why is it that this rim is significant? That's going to be number one. And when you can go to pick up other components, for example, let's say we go to be enlarging this map and having taken a look at it, you will go on to consider almost every aspect associated with it, and that will go on to comprise of one is what exactly is going to be the northernmost boundary of it, which are going to be these type of mountains. Is it going to be Kunlun Chan? Is it going to be Saidam Basin? Is it going to be which of these type of mountains? That is going to be number one. Of course, the southern boundary is going to be formed by the Himalayas in this case. The fourth is there is the number of lakes that are going to be found in this zone. And of course, beginning with the two lakes that you're going to be having in the Tibetan region, that is going to be, one of them is of course Pangong Tso, and other is going to be So Morari. These are going to be two of these lakes found in this region. The third is going to be the number of rivers in this place. Of course, the two most important of these rivers that going to go to flow towards this region, and that is what we are going to be talking about. This is the way that the rivers go to flow. That is the way that the rivers also going to be entering into India as well. This is the way that all of these rivers are going to be entering through it as well. This is going to be significant. The path of the river, in this case, is it that the Brahmaputra, which is going to be called as Sangpo, which is also going to be called by the name of Yarlung Zangpo, in this case, has been of some amount of a significance in this region. And why is it that that is going to be significant? Which are other rivers that are going to be important? Why is it that the Tibetan Plateau region now is dry? What may have been the most important factor for making it dry? Of course, Tibetan region is dry largely because as the Himalayas started getting itself uplifted, then in that process, all the moisture-laden winds which are going to move into it, these moisture-laden winds, they started drying. Now, Himalayas got uplifted, the whole region got dried, And a good number of lakes that must have been in these places, they got themselves drained out of it, or they dried. Consequently, most of the lakes in the Tibetan region are going to be of a salty nature. Now, that goes on to become important. That is going to be of a salty nature. Another question associated with it, despite having a temperature of -20, -30 degrees centigrade in this region, why is it that Pangong Tso, that is one of those lakes, is still going to be in a liquid form? Why is it that doesn't go to freeze at all? It's largely because of a very, very high salinity in the region. So it goes on to be working for Tso Morari as well as for Pangong Tso, both of them. And of course, as with Pangong Tso, any of these facts. Now, this is how exactly that you're training your natural curiosity. Then you can go to pick up that is after having talked about the rivers originating and maybe some of the places where the dams are going to be built in this case. Dams, that means on Yarlung Zangpo, which is the place in China where the dams are being built. Is it that that is before entering into India, or just at the boundary of India and so-called China? Of course, India doesn't going to form a boundary with China at all. India forms a boundary with Tibet. India forms a boundary with Tibet, and it is only with Tibetan region that it goes on to form a boundary. This is the way that the question can be twisted to you as well. Must remember that part. So that is going to be a component associated with it. So that's one part. Third is, what type of a plateau Tibetan plateau is going to be? Is it going to be an intermountain plateau, or is it going to be something else? Now, when you start going to be picking it up, you're also going to find that there is going to be one region here. That's going to be one of these regions in this zone, whole of this zone that we are talking about. That is going to be rimmed. It is going to be a basin, but then going to be rimmed from every possible side. Now, this must be a region of some significance. There is going to be a basin, Takla Makan Desert in this place. It is going to be one of those, again, intermountain basins. This is an intermountain plateau. Intermountain, that means rimmed by mountains on the southern side, rimmed by mountains on the northern side, and that is what makes it intermountain plateau. And northern side, you're going to be having an intermountain lake as well, rimmed by mountains on all possible sides. That's another part associated with it. Then you're going to be talking about how is it, what are the boundary issues, which are the areas. So is it going to be in Arunachal Pradesh, or is it going to be mostly in Kashmir? Is it going to be in Aksai Chin? In Aksai Chin, the places which are going to be known as, for example, the difference between Ladakh and that of Tibetan region. The difference that you're going to find between Devsat plains, Depsang plains, as well as of Aksai Chin. And what exactly is the nature of these areas? Is it that these areas, all of these areas are going to be dry with a lot of salt content and so on and so forth? How is it that these areas going to be behaving in general in this place here? That is going to be significant here. So, having talked about it, we're going to come to the nature of the questions and all of those type of questions which we can think that can be asked and pick it up. We are talking about rivers originating in this place. That's one component. Then you are talking about the boundary issues between India and that of China. So all of these issues that will go on to transcend itself into political part of it. For example, all the fingers of Pangong Tso in this case can go on to be with Galwan Valley. It can go on to be associated with all of those areas that are going to be in the north. We're going to take a look at it in this case. Resources associated with it in this case. And when we are going to be talking about resources, then we must go to know the resources. Of course, there can't be a place. Re is going to be one of them, rare earth elements, lithium is going to be another one of them, and Tibetan plateau is super rich in terms of mineral resources. It's very, very, not only rich, it's super rich in that terms here. That is going to be very, very important here. It is water tower, because there is no place on the earth other than Antarctic that is going to be as rich as the Tibetan plateau in terms of the amount of water resources that a region can go to have also. Now, having talked about it, you will also going to find this is one of the area where all of these issues associated with boundary. For example, we are going to be talking about the issue associated with Arunachal Pradesh, also issue associated with Kashmir. In Kashmir, the nature of all the areas where the Chinese have been responsible for occupying that place. And that goes on to include, that is Daulat Beg Oldie, that is going to be one region which is under control of India, and how long and how distant it is going to be from other places like that of you can go to think of Galwan Valley, Hot Spring region, Gogra, Chushul, all these places, and how is it that they are going to be arranged from north to south. Now, this is something that has been discussed in the last part as well, and you can go to find a good amount of reference. Now, the most important and significant two of these components, one of them is going to be albedo. Now, why is it that albedo is going to be significantly? Because the Chinese are bringing about certain type of a change. They're thinking about bringing certain type of a change in the region. And when we say that Chinese are thinking about, they are trying to bring some environmental change in Tibetan region. And how is it that they want to do it? They want to do it by changing the vegetation index of this region. By changing the vegetation index, what they will go to do is they will increase the reflectivity of the region. If the reflectivity of the region goes to change, then the amount of heat content associated with the region will also go to change. Tibetan region will start getting heated less than what it had been getting itself heated. And if there is a heat alteration of the Tibetan plateau, it will go on to affect India. And that is what Chinese are aiming for. They want to pulverize India from every possible side. Of course, politically, it is going to be Pakistan, which is going to be used as a weapon. Well, Pakistan is a weapon for them. It's a different matter that Pakistanis are so foolish that they allow themselves to be used as a weapon. And for them, hatred is their key. It is their hatred that is being harnessed by the Chinese. So one of them is going to be the albedo of the earth and albedo of the whole of the region. And the last part in this case will be associated with a certain type of logistics that the region has developed. Now that will going to include, why is it that the planes don't going to fly? That means we are going to be talking about what can be the possible reasons that will allow the planes not to fly all the way crossing this region. Of course, planes cannot go to cross this region because over a long stretch of an area where there is a minimum amount of a possibility of any type of habitation, any region, if the plane goes on to develop any type of snag, then the life of all of these people will be under risk. So when you are going to be considering about Tibetan region, this is how exactly the examiner will start thinking like. He will going to think not only in terms of what has been news, that is going to be, but then anything connected with it that will immediately strike him, and he will going to ask it in the form of a question. In a similar manner, Danakil depression has also been in news. Danakil depression has been news because of a variety of reasons. At least the most important and the most significant in this case has been associated with, you can understand it, that is with this type of a microbe, extremophilic microbe. That's going to be one of them. And of course, the second has been a series of earthquakes that took place and volcanic activity that also took place in the region. Now, Danakil depression is in the northern part of a Afar triangle or Afar depression. Now consider that part. Where exactly is Afar depression? Afar depression lies in the Horn of Africa in the northern portion of it, and that is going to be in Ethiopia. That's one. Second is associated with it is going to be, it's an Afar triangle is going to be over an Alakogen. That is going to be a triple junction. Now triple junction, that means the place where three plates meet. There are many places on the earth wherever three plates have met. Wherever three plates have met, they have led to a very good type of a feature. Some of these things like depression, some of these things like rift valleys, and so on, so forth. And which are these type of rift valleys that have taken place in this region? We're going to imagine Narmada Son Damodar lineament is one such type of a rift valley. That is a part of it. So that's going to be a triple junction, Olakogen. It is a part of it. Lacogen is a more technical term that is unlikely to be asked, but then triple junction is going to be in the Horn of Africa. That is very much significant. Then it is separated from a Red Sea. Now that is going to be important. Red Sea is important. It is separated from Red Sea by live volcanoes. That means there are only few areas where live volcanoes are found in Africa, and this is going to be one of the regions. Now, having talked about this part, that is the location of it, Danakil Depression is always going to be known for an active volcano. It is going to be one of the examples of a volcanic lake. That means lava lake. That is what is going to be important, importance attached to it. It's a lava lake. We're going to take a look at it. But other than that, now consider that there are many microorganisms that are living in this area, and that has filled the people with a curiosity. That is, how is it that under such type of a condition, it can lead to the evolution of any type of a microbe? And it's a major interest to astrobiologists, largely because they can go on to know that if it is that some of the organisms can evolve under such type of a condition in this region at such a high temperature, that means that it is likely that in other places also there are going to be some of these organisms found. That is going to be the second part associated with it. Now come to the next part. It has been formed by the evaporation. When we say that it has been formed by evaporation, it means something completely different. When you have evaporation, that means there must be a lake body associated with it. And when you have a lake body in this region and there is evaporation, then this lake body as well as evaporation, both of them will go on to cause a thin film of salt in the region. That is, it is going to be having a thin film of a salt over this region. That is going to be another significant portion. And it is one of the hottest places in the whole of the world. And when we say that it is going to be one of the hottest places, then it is going to be one of them. Now, in absolute terms, you must go on to know which are all the regions which are going to be known as the hottest place, all of those places. So one of them is, of course, is going to be Danakil Depression. Another region you can go on to think of is going to be that of in Algeria, which we're going to be talking about, Al Azizia. That's part of it. And then the Death Valley. The third is going to be Death Valley. These are the three places which vie to be the hottest place on the earth. Now, when you have a hottest place, the name cropping up, you need to know which are all of them. Now, it doesn't require too much amount of an effort and doesn't going to deviate you also from the current affairs in this case, because any topic has to do with current affairs, you are asked only the appendages, only the attachments associated with it. That attachment goes on to be important, and that is significant here. And of course, it's a desert because it is going to be without rains for a good number of years. Now, when you go on to take a look at it in a different manner, for example, taking a look at it here in this space, that is going to be one component. You must go on to know that. So on one side is going to be having Djibouti, that is a region. Then you have Lake Assal. Lake Assal is going to be another of the saltiest body of water on the whole of the earth, and the deepest place also in Africa. So that is going to be one component. Danakil Depression is here, and that's here. And then Erta Ale. Erta Ale is important, that is going to be very, very close to that of Red Sea. So from Red Sea, Erta Ale is going to be important. Afar Depression is this is the place, the whole of this place is depressed. It's almost like that of a hollow. This region is going to be hollow. That is Danakil Depression. So the important locations in this region going to be Afar Depression, Danakil Depression, Erta Ale, Lake Assal is going to be, and Djibouti, of course, is a part of it. Now, Erta Ale is for you to know that Erta Ale is going to be one of this place which is going to be having which has a very different type of a volcanic activity that we're going to be calling it as a natrocarbonite. Now, that is one type of a volcano that you're going to find where the temperature of the lava is not going to be more than that of 80 degrees centigrade, and Not only that, 80, 90 degrees centigrade, sometimes maybe 100 as well. It is completely liquid, and this is something, it's not like normal lava. That is, a far depression is going to be the place where Africa is. This is the place where Africa is going to be breaking apart. It will go to break apart in this manner. And because it is a meeting place of all of these three plates, that's the region. It is going to be known by the name of an Olakogen or a triple junction. There is part of it, as we say, it has been formed by a volcanic activity. It is going to be one of the lowest places on the whole of the planet, at 100 meters, 330 feet below the sea level. One of the lowest places, like that of Lake Assal as well. And there is one river. That's going to be one of the rivers in this place, a Wash River, that dries up in a chain of salt lakes. That means the river comes, drains itself this region, and then the river reaches, the river goes into, gets dried up, evaporates itself, and then leaves a series of chain of salt lakes in the whole of the place, in the whole of the region, before it goes on to be reaching Indian Ocean. That's going to be another part associated with it. Now, that goes on to bring us to another of the question, another topic that has been in news. And what has been in news is it has been a mapping of the ocean floor. And why is it that the mapping of ocean floor has been important and has been significant? Now, mapping of ocean floor has been significant because of three regions. There have been three regions which has got itself in a news. One of them is associated with what the Chinese have been doing. Chinese have inserted certain type of instruments, certain type of equipments in this region. And the Chinese have inserted it particularly to know the depth of the Mariana Trench in the region. That has led to some type of a speculation here, there, and in variety of ways of sorts. As to what are the intentions of the Chinese, that is going to be one. Second has been associated with maritime security. And when we're going to be talking maritime security, any country which doesn't go on to seek the approval of UNCLOS, United Nations Convention on Law of Sea, and even International Seabed Authority, that is, these two names are significant, that goes on to become a criminal of sorts. And the third is the new type of techniques and the technology that has come up in this case. And that is what has gone to make the topic pretty significant. We are going to be talking about that is mapping of the ocean floor, and one is going to be bathymetry of the region. Now, talking about its bathymetry, we'll go on to understand what are the components. One of them is going to be the bathymetric profile. Now, bathymetric profile, that means how is it that you can go to understand this type of a profile, beginning from all the way from the continental shelf up till the deep sea region. That's going to be one. Bathymetric profile all the way from the shallow ocean basins, from continental shelf up to the ocean trenches. That's one component. Second is the bathymetric survey. How many ways is it that you can go on to know the floor of the ocean? So you can go on to know it through seismic survey. You can know it through some type of a mapping by inserting a certain type of scuba equipment as well. You can know that through acoustic survey as well. You can know that effectively also with certain type of ships whose main job only is to map the ocean floor. And anyone who will be in a position to map the ocean floor, of course, we do going to be having a fair idea, like what you're going to study in this map, all in all. And when you're going to talk about it in this map, you're going to find all of those components of Indian Ocean that are going to be very, very significant here. We'll just going to take a look at it. And when we are going to be talking about all of these domains, in this case, you will go on to observe. You will observe in this place the regions that are going to be important. For example, one of them is going to be these type of ridges. This is going to be 90 East Ridge. This is going to be another of this ridge. This is going to be part of what we're going to say that is ocean ridge, covering the whole of Indian Ocean, Y-shaped region. This is 90 East Ridge. And then you're going to be having certain type of plateaus like this one. That's part of it. This is another part of a ridge that goes into extend. The southern region is going to be having another plateau in this region. Indian Ocean is the only one that is going to be closed on the northern side. So On these ridges, there are going to be good number of islands which are of a concern, because that is going to concern our international security. And when we're going to be talking about that is going to concern international security, we are effectively talking about a lot of things in this case. And when we are talking about that is effectively talking about a lot of things, basically it means that when you want to secure it, you require to know about the topography where you can go to hide your submarines, which are the places that you can go to use it for the purpose of a surveillance, which are the places that you can go to use it for the purpose of a maybe some type of a attack. That is maritime security. And last component of it is going to be associated with what we're going to be calling it as maritime domains. Now, maritime domains are completely different. Maritime domains going to include, one of them is going to be territorial waters, that's one. And to what extent the territorial waters extend, that's one. Second is going to be the exclusive economic zone. Up till what extent? The exclusive economic zone has again been in use because an American ship came in India to the exclusive economic zone of India, and what it did was it almost threatened India of dire consequences. How is it that India can go to own the whole of the Indian Ocean? Of course, that was taken at a diplomatic level, and whatever may have happened to the captain of the ship, that was something that was to be done. But then Chinese went on to laugh all the way to the two different type of associations. Then you're going to be having high seas. Now, when you talk about territorial waters, then the plinth zone, the buffer zone associated with it, exclusive economic zone, and so on. That is the distance of it. What extent the exclusive economic zone remains? It is 200 nautical miles. Then the territorial waters 12 kilometers or 12 nautical miles away from the coast. Then there is a baseline, and baseline doesn't going to be having any meaning. Now, you are required to know about all of these regions, because all of these have been in use for one or the other regions associated with it. So, mathematic profile, how is it that one can go to survey the whole of the region, and the domains associated with it, and the components of the maritime security, because India for the first time ever chaired the maritime security component. And when we say that it chaired the maritime security component, then it spelled out certain components, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and of course that goes on to become part of your current affairs in this case. That's going to be one part, and then you pick up a other topic. Now that is going to be on Everest. Now on Everest, you have the topic has been used for 3 reasons. One of them has been that it was one of those peaks which was to be measured, and which got itself remeasured once again, and that its height was established. Number one. Now, when its height was established, it was a height controversy that was established. Now, you understand the other component associated with it as well. People came to know that the person who established its height for the first time was not so-called George Everest. Now, you can understand that the British people, I mean, the big thieves that they are, I mean, all of these British people are thieves, and the whole of Britain, Great Britain, is made of the stolen materials from India. There is hardly anything that the British have done, because they were able to divide people, because they were able to rule over it, and they have made Industrial Revolution sham. Industrial Revolution has been branded that it helped Britain. It's like to foot over it. That's absolutely not correct. But then that's a different topic. So there was one person called as a Sikdar. That is, he was the one person that is we are going to be talking about, Radhanath Sikdar. It was Radhanath Sikdar who was associated with the measurement of the whole of the Everest mountain for the first time. And his measurement is still so correct that you can't believe it. Now, why is it not his name has not been picked up? Now, that may be a question associated with history, but then that is a component that you must go to know. Second question that can be asked essentially is going to be on the route to Everest. That is, of course, we are going to be showing the route to Everest. In this case, all along this type of ridge. That is a symbolic meaning to show that Everest route has become very, very, very crowded. And it's almost like a child's play that anyone can go to Everest now. So easy has it become. Now, that's largely because you're going to take a pride in the fact that you have climbed Everest and then you're going to be having a certificate and whatnot. So the route and the problems associated with route, the whole of the route has been littered with a good amount of garbage, and this has been plastic garbage, and this type of garbage has been all those type of waste materials that the humans being leave behind. Everest pollution has gone to become a new topic all in all. Names of Everest like Sagarmatha, what the Nepal is going to be calling it as and maybe any other type of a name, and peaks of it which are going to be around it. Makalu, Kanchenjunga, that is going to be part of it. So how is it that all of these peaks are going to be arranged from north to south, south to north, or east to west? If the snow cover is going to be removed, how is it the Everest will going to look like? What will be the color of the mountain? Can you make a guess? Is it going to be darker in color? Answer is no, it won't be darker in color. If it is going to be only stone that is going to be exposed, it will be lighter in color because it is essentially made of limestone. And you won't believe it, but it is made of limestone. And if it is made of limestone, then there must be a lot of processes acting on the whole of the Everest to weather it, because snow goes on to be having a high amount of a carbon dioxide and a carbonic acid as well. That means the potential to convert its snow into carbonic acid is going to be very, very high, and that will be able to cause a good amount of wear and tear of the limestone. So made of limestone. And the slopes are going to be, of course, it's very, very steep. It is going to be arid. Arid is going to be almost like that of a knife. It is another name of knife that the region is going to be called as, or called for. It's knife-like or knife only, not arid. It is arid. And on both the sides of arid, you will go on to find a different type of a feature. Arid is an evolved form of a cirque. When a cirque develops and it goes on to become advanced, the back wall of it is going to be called by the name of arid in this case. So on Everest, so many of these type of questions can possibly be asked. Osteoporosis of the sea has been a new concept. The term has been relatively new, not too much in vogue. Vogue in the sense that is, it's not something that has been making rounds. All in all, it is associated with the warming of the sea, the warming leading to loss of oxygen in the sea, that's leading to acidification, and that is what is called as osteoporosis of the sea, of the oceans as well, as you can go to call it. It doesn't going to be having a similar type of a diversity as was associated with other topics, and one can go to understand that part. That is it essentially refers to what we're going to be calling it a deoxygenation, and that is going to be caused by ocean warming. Of course, it is going to be caused by cultural eutrophication as well. It will go to cause cultural eutrophication caused by that. And how? That is any type of a change in the ocean waters, which is responsible for depleting its oxygen content, will go on to lead to cultural eutrophication. That is, it will go on to, it is associated with dumping of a lot of nutrients into the sea, and when you go on to dump a lot of nutrients into the sea, then the nutrients go on to use up a good amount of oxygen. Of course, not in that simple manner, but then, and that is responsible for depletion of oxygen here. Also understand it that there are going to be some of these zones in the ocean bodies, for example, the coastal zones that are going to be the dead zones all in this case. Then there is slower ocean circulation that is bringing it responsible for it. So ocean circulation goes on to become slow because of all of these type of processes. Vertical mixing becomes slow, and even the upper layer of the ocean becomes low in terms of oxygen content. It is warmer, and because it is going to be warmer, it will not be able to hold that much amount of oxygen as it should normally be holding, and it is likely to hold it in such a manner. That was simple aspect with respect to osteoporosis of the sea. Now, recently, you may have noticed that is a Chenab Bridge has been in news. Of course, it is not completed, and as completed, as the it is going to be completed, it will go on to be some type of a marvel, architectural marvel. It is going to be an engineering marvel, all in all. So, a good number of questions that can be framed out of it. Now, these questions go on to be related to many aspects. First is the Chenab Arc Bridge is going to be a bridge between Katra and Riyasi over the Chenab River. That is going to be one. Of course, it is going to be very well known. It is going to be over Chenab River. Second is its bridge design. Now, bridge design is that is, as you can go to see, that is going to be arc shaped. You can go to see it from this angle as well. That is going to be arc shaped. Now, why is it that? Now, the question comes: why is it that some of these bridges go on to be arc shaped? Some of them are going to be flat. Some of them are strong enough to allow even tanks to roll over it. Why is it so? Now, the bridge design is going to be, that means that is the type of a question which can be asked to you in a science and technology form. And when we talk about it, you will go to understand it much better that way. That is, the design of the bridges in this case is going to be connected to a lot of factors. For example, one of them is connected to what exactly is going to be the nature of this bedrock. Now, there was no way that a pillar would have been made here at all. So deep, something like some 384 meter deep. There was no possibility whatsoever of a pillar being made. Now, supposing one would have made a pillar also, then the flow of the stream, it would have been fast enough to break the pillar. So that was not going to be possible. Second is, of course, is going to be, that is, you go on to transfer the load of the bridge, the whole of the bridge onto the sides. That is where you transfer the load of the bridge onto the sides of it, to the bedrock. That is the bedrock towards where you have transferred the load. And then you're going to be almost, in a sense, hanging it also. That is going to be the ultimate type of a design that will be known as, it will be hanging from this place. That is how it will be hanging. It is going to be arc shaped because that is going to be the arc. Now, for this purpose, all of these bedrocks, these rocks require to be very, very strong. If they're not strong, it doesn't going to be serving any purpose. That is going to be one component. Now, when you have talked about the bedrock, then that goes on to lead to a lot of other questions as well associated with it. And these questions are going to be associated with leading to this region, leading to this bridge. And this is a railway line, is going to be large number of tunnels. Now, when it is going to be about tunnels, of course, it should naturally tick you about what exactly is going to be required for the purpose of constructing those tunnels. And tunnel is going to be requiring a specific type of a design. It cannot go on to be built in a place where there are cracks. If this is going to be a tunnel, then in this tunnel, there not be too many faults or too many joints that should be leading up to the tunnel. And of course, the water table also should not be very, very high. If the water table is as high as this much, what will happen? The water will start seeping into the tunnel and the tunnel will go on to collapse. That is one. This is a region where you're going to build tunnels. You cannot go to build roads because roads are always going to be fraught with some type of a danger. Danger in the sense that will be, these roads will be subject to certain things like that of what you say, landslides, some type of a fall from the slope of the Himalayan mountain ranges and so on. Then coming on to the crossing of the deep gorge of the Chenab River, there is going to be, which are the adjoining places associated with it. So one is going to be near Salal Hydropower Dam. Now, Salal is, it's not that you need to know the name. When you go to know the name, you must go to know that Salal Hydropower Dam has been one of these such type of a dam, which has been essentially important from the perspective of having a very, very fast completion, very, very fast completion. And that showed to the world and Indians as well that they can go to construct some of these things really very fast. Then there have been another smaller arc bridge that has been proposed at Anji Ghat as well. This is another place. So that means that is going to be coming up. Anji Ghat is going to be coming up right now. Now, these go into be the number of questions associated with the design of the bridge, the bedrock, the nature of the bedrock, whether it's granite, basalt, charnokite. Of course, it can't be charnokite because charnokite is going to be found in the southern part of the country, and a large number of tunnels going to be built in this region, and so on. Some people cited a snow leopard. Now, snow leopard, when you're going to take a look at it, that is a sight to behold, particularly when it runs, particularly when the snow leopards go on to jump, and when they go on to cross a mountain, when they go on to come across a slope, or even going to climb the slope, they are actually a sight to behold in this case, and that is going to be a part of it. This is one. Understand that part. These snow leopards, they live in a mountain across a vast range of Asia. That means they have been for the first time sighted in Uttarakhand right now. Initially, they used to be sighted near to Hindu Kush mountains, but then they have been sighted across Uttarakhand also right now. These snow leopards are instituted thick hair, and this hair is that is in shades of gray or creamy yellow, and they are going to be covered with grayish black spots, and they have a wide fur feet, which act as a very natural snowshoe also. That is, they are very soft, very soft. So their insulation is essentially as an adaptation to living in such type of a condition, and particularly their fur-covered feet is acting like a natural snowshoe, and that is going to be really remarkable, really remarkable. These are some of these cats which go on to be, which are responsible for hunting it with their legs, and they have a very powerful leg. When we go to say that they have a very powerful leg, because imagine on a steep slope, they have to climb upwards in such a manner. So their legs have to be very powerful, and they have a jumper, and they are able to leap. In one of these leaps, they can go on to take a leap of 50 feet as well. Now, that is an adaptation. That means one of those questions that can be asked to you, and imagine that, that is, what are the type of adaptations that the snow leopards going to be having it, living in these regions? Of course, it is going to be, one of them is going to be fur. Second is going to be their natural snowshoe, of course, that is going to be their pugs, and that is going to be very soft and covered with a good amount of foam. They have a very powerful leg, and for what purpose is it that going to be leg is going to be used for? That goes on to become significant. Now, they use their long tails for the purpose of balance. The tail is very long, as you can go to see it. This tail is going to be very long, and that is for the purpose of balancing themselves in this region, and as the blanket to oversensitive body parts as well, which is going to be serving from against severe mountain chill as well. Now, such type of creatures are shy. They are reclusive, and can you imagine it? That is, people who want to have a look at it and who want to photograph such type of snow leopards, they waited for some of them waited for even 1.5, 2 years, and 12 years as well for the purpose of clicking one photograph of snow leopard. And that was, you can imagine how valuable they must have been in this case. And that is what goes on to make them very specific. Of course, this is one question that will not be asked. But then you can be asked about their adaptation, and that is bodily adaptation, and you can be asked about their behavior. That is, they are shy and they are reclusive. That is their part of it. And why is it they're going to be having long tails? Now, long tails are, how many of these animals going to be having a long tail? And if it is that all of them going to be having a long tail, is it going to be associated with the balancing part of their body or not? Now, that goes on to become important in this case here. They are not found in the Western Himalayan region. Now, these are some of these animals which are going to be found in the Western Himalayan region. Eastern Himalayan biodiversity hotspot is something that is completely different. Eastern Himalayan biodiversity hotspot goes on to begin almost all the way from Nainital and then Nana Devi and so on up till Arunachal Pradesh, and covering the whole of this region. This is the largest protected region, all in all. That is the only park in the world to have 4 or 5 feline species of big cat, not one. Big cat, that means cat families, lions, tigers, snow leopards, and they are all a clouded leopard. All of them are going to be part of the big cat family. And which are they? That is something that can be asked to you. That is, tiger is one. In this case, leopard is another. Snow leopard another. Clouded leopard. That means 3 varieties of leopards and 1 tiger that can be found in this place. Other than that, you have Hollock gibbons. That is the only ape species found in India. That is important. Eastern Himalayan region is going to be known for a Hollock gibbons. That is the only ape species found in India, and it is going to be living in the impenetrable virgin forest region of this place. That goes on to make it very, very, very important, very significant as well. Come to weather forecasting. Now, weather forecasting has been news for variety of reasons. One of the reasons has been that people made a mockery of IMD, people made a mockery of Indian Meteorological Department, and largely because it forecasted that monsoons will be in time, and monsoons in northern part of the country got themselves delayed further and more. That was one part associated with it. So IMD's monsoon forecast has been a model on which a good number of debate has taken place, a good number of these things have been written, and consequently that goes on to be a topic for discussion, a topic for something to be asked on that. Now understand that the basic model in which it goes on to be forecasting the rains in India is going to be power regression model. Now power regression model is that is the name that you require to know it. That is going to be important. It's going to be also on the basis of simulation model as well. Simulation in the sense, somewhere there were certain type of conditions. For example, maybe in 1932, the condition was such that there was a low pressure in Indian Ocean. That was one. There was high pressure in Antarctic, there was El Nino effect, there was something else. And all of these factors combined to make the amount of rainfall low in India. And supposing you're going to pick up that part, that is the amount of rainfall in India has been low, then you understand that part. That is how is it that if the conditions are going to be the same, then this year also the amount of rainfall will be low in the country? That's one component. Now, IMD is mostly responsible for forecasting of the monsoon rains. So, forecast of the monsoon rain over the entire of the country, and that is on the basis of the historical data that they have collected all the way from 1951 to 1987. It is this data that they keep on getting themselves repeated for. And why? How is it that they're going to get repeated? There is in 1956, there was certain type of a situation. And it happened also in 1984 as well. That is, this was the same type of situation. And in both of these years, supposing that the rainfall was very good, then this year also the rainfall will be very good because all the conditions are also going to be the same. In this case, IMD has been mostly concerned with the behavior of the monsoons and how is it that monsoons behavior has been significant in this case. The atmospheric factors which have been associated with such type of prediction has been associated with predictors, and that goes on to be taking into account the regional factors, for example, the Himalayan snow cover, as well as the global scenario, that is the El Nino effect. Now, the greater the amount of a snowfall, snow cover, maybe that we are going to be talking about, the greater will be the amount of a albedo in this case. And when there is a greater amount of an albedo, there will be something else that will be there. Now, understand this complete part. We are going to be talking about, that is what is going to be acting behind it. First is predictive model and machine learning. Weather data acts as a support for many of them. Then right data for decision making, and satellite and sensor data. All of these are going to be woven into each other for the purpose of predicting the monsoons. While monsoon prediction has been good with respect to IMD, the most important aspect which is going to be significant for you, from where a question can go on to be asked, is going to be associated with the problems of it. Now, one is that we are going to be talking about model. This model, is it that the model had been significant, or is it that the model is significant from the perspective of this model is significant from the perspective of predicting the weather condition? The answer is that there are certain questions associated with it. This is a simulation model. That is something like what has happened some time back, and this the same thing is happening this time, and consequently it is going to be the same type of a situation. Now, for this purpose, they have been using. They used for the first time. They used a supercomputer, Cray XMP14. That was one of the supercomputers that they took it from United States, and United States humiliated them to no end because they thought that this computer is going to be bought by India for the purpose of simulating their atomic explosions of sorts. That means it can be used for that purpose also. So the problem is going to be on one of model. Our model is that type. The second problem associated with our weather forecasting in this case has been associated with all in all what we can going to say that is we are a tropical country, and in a tropical country the weather prediction part is in any case very, very difficult. Tropical conditions and tropical monsoons are not the same like that of temperate regions. It's not going to be the same like that of a temperate condition where you can go on to say with certainty that this is the date when the rainfall will take place, this is the date when the rainfall will be drying up. That is not going to be so. That is another issue India goes on to be facing. Second is India can go on to predict a good number of weather conditions on the basis of Doppler radar. And when we say Doppler radar, we are talking about good number of these type of radars which are associated with something like what we're going to say. That is, you can go to use this radar for the purpose of explaining the vertical depth of the cloud. That is a thunderstorm. And where exactly is it that the frequency of these thunderstorms will be very, very high. So on the basis of the Doppler radar, we were able to predict the number of thunderstorms that were going to be coming and that affected India at one or the other point of time. That has been one case. And the third has been, that is, while we're going to be talking about a problem, while we're going to be talking about facing of a problem, we will also going to observe many other aspects as well. And this will going to comprise of, take an example, we are going to be talking about the problem in India this time had been 2021 had been that we were not able to predict that the rainfall in North Delhi will be more, rainfall over Delhi will be more, or rainfall over Meerut will be less, or rainfall over any other smaller region has been less or more than that. And that is generally associated with the block level observation. Now, this is something that is generally lacking with us. Block level observation has been lacking with us. That means we require people to be at the block level for the purpose of observing these conditions and then feeding it to the system, feeding it to a machine, and then the machine will go on to take certain type of decisions for the purpose, well, that this is how the weather will go on to behave in the future or in the coming era or in the coming days of sorts as well. Now, this will all go on to become the topic for the purpose of a question being asked from this section. Now, extending this part onto climate and to glaciers. Glaciers have been significant from many angles. Glaciers have been significant because there has been an example of glacial snapping as well. And when we're going to be talking about glacier snapping, we are essentially talking about some type of an event that took place in Chamoli of Uttarakhand in February 2021. Now, at that point of a time, there were going to be a good number of glaciers that were being inspiring, those that were having some type of problem. And you can go to pick up cases like that of Bartoli, then Kuruntoli, Ramani, and Trishul. They were awe-inspiring Nanda Devi glaciers. So, they are part of it. But then it goes on to refer to the glaciers in the Chamoli district of Uttarakhand. That means all of them. All of these, we are going to be talking about all of them, which have been in news for one or the other regions. Now, while these names are going to be important and these names can be asked to you, that is Bartoli, Kuruntoli, Ramani and Trishul are known for what? They have been used for what? What exactly is it that they're going to denote? Is it that they denote the tribe of a person? Is it that they're going to donate the goat species or whatever? Or is it that they're going to donate something else in this case? So, overall, the concept in this case has been that denote glaciers and some type of glacier, valley glacier particularly in this case. Now, the second component of it is going to be associated with what we're going to be talking it as the problems that the glaciers are facing in India. Now, one of the most important problems that the glaciers are likely to face is that of glacial snapping. Now, glacial snapping means that the glaciers which can going to be so thick, maybe we can go to think of it, that is a glacier which can go to be pretty thick of sorts. Sometimes, and for any reason, it starts getting thinner. And when we say it is going to be getting thinner, that means it will go on to decrease in its thickness. Its thickness that used to be this much now has decreased to a considerable amount. Now, when its thickness has decreased, then the strength of the glacier has also decreased, and the glaciers have gone to become weaker as well. And when these glaciers going to become weaker, then these glaciers are likely to break. Break, that means in general, when they are going to be thicker, they are able to hold themselves very well because of the adhesive aspects that goes into exist between them. And when they're going to become thinner, they're able to snap. That means they can go to break easily. And when the glaciers snap, when they're going to break, and when they come down the slope, coming down the slope will go on to imply, it will go on to mean that they're coming down the slope with all the type of boulders, with all the type of cobbles, with almost everything possible. They will start coming down, and in the process, they will go on to pick up a good amount of a stone. They will go on to pick up good number of other components as well, and they will go to come down. They're going to block the valley, and consequently, then thereafter, anything can go on to happen thereafter. That has been one. Then the another has been that of GLOF. GLOF is a glacial lake outburst flood. Now, 2013 flood in Kedarnath was glacial lake outburst flood. Now, understand that what happens in a glacial lake outburst flood. What happens in a glacial lake outburst flood is there's a glacier. This glacier goes on to melt. Now, the glacier goes on to deposit something at the mouth of it. And when this glacier goes on to deposit something at its mouth, then there is going to be a good number of cobbles, pebbles, stones, which is going to be called by the name of a moraine. Now, that goes on to form the natural dam in this case. And when there is a natural dam, that allows a good amount of water to rest behind the dam, almost like that. Now, that goes on to form a lake called as a glacial lake. Now, normally, when the amount of water is going to be reasonable, then the water remains. But if for some reason the amount of water goes on to increase, then this glacial lake is going to overtop. And when it goes into overtop, it goes into burst. And then when it goes into burst, it comes down the slope with all of those type of boulders, cobbles, stones. And you can imagine that when a lake goes into breach its banks and goes on to come down, through a very, very steep slope, what can happen and how many things can actually happen. Now, this is what happened in 2013-14 in Kedarnath. So, glaciers have been in news because of all of these right or wrong regions here. Now, understand that part. This time what had happened was that there was in Uttarakhand that was a calamity, and that calamity had been essentially, in this case, the important names have been, that is, one of them has been Tapovan hydropower project, then Dhauli Ganga river, Rishikesh had been important, Haridwar had been important, Srinagar and Deoprayag had been important. Rishi Ganga project has been most important, and in Rishi Ganga project, when there was a glacial snapping, then a good number of workers who were living in the Rishi Ganga project, they were the one who were washed out completely. The glacial break near Rani village, this name is going to be important, Rani village in Chamoli, they were the one that were the most affected, and all the workers who were living in that region, they have been completely washed. This was one of the greatest calamities, and that raised an alarm about some of those things that has started happening, and most of these things that had started happening in this region and in this manner, that was largely responsible for a renewed interest in the Himalayan region. People started talking about how exactly one can go to take care of the Himalayas. They started talking about conserving Himalayas. They started talking about preserving the Himalayas. So Himalayas have been used for all the wrong reasons. And the reason has been in this case, that is, since we have only one Himalayas to lose, therefore, what has been talked about mostly is that how is it that one can go to preserve the Himalayas? What has been the effect of something like Char Dham project, then the hydropower projects, which hydropower projects which are able to establish themselves by dynamiting the whole of the region in around that place. That is what has been very, very, very significant here. And that has been important. Now, perhaps one of the most talked about topic this year has been that of Suez Canal. And why is it that we're going to say it has been Suez Canal? Because there was a ship that was struck in this place. So, of course, you do expect that there will be a question and that will be asked, what was that ship? Was it belonging to Maersk? Was it a super tanker? Was it going to be a ultra large scale tanker? Was it a freight carrier? What exactly were the reasons behind it? Now the reason had been established. The reason was that there was a dust storm. There was a very strong wind shear and a dust storm. And if the ship was going straight, what had happened was that the ship got itself tilted. And when it got tilted, it got itself struck in the sands of the Suez Canal. And when it got itself struck, it was struck in that region because the ship was heavy enough to have been struck completely in that region. And because the ship was struck in that place, it caused the whole of the world a loss, a massive loss. Because in good number of places, wherever Suez Canal has been the lifeline of the people, what happened was they were not able to get their products, they were not able to get it at the right time, so the prices started increasing. Now, that has been a reason for this Suez Canal being in news. But what can be the question, other than for bringing in the news, what can be the question that can possibly be asked here? Now, when a canal like that, or Suez Canal, goes into the news, then everything about Suez Canal, for example, how many lakes are going to be there in Suez Canal, which are going to be interconnected with each other? And that is going to be significant. So one of them is going to be Lake Manzala, Lake Timsa, Bitter Lakes, Great Bitter Lake, Little Bitter Lake. And these are going to be the series of lakes in this case. So when you're going to enter from Lake Mediterranean cities, first thing is going to encounter is going to be Lake Manzala. That is one. And then thereafter, you have the Great Bitter Lake in this case, the Little Bitter Lake in this case, and then it goes on to open itself into the Suez. That is going to be one part. That's how it is. You can go to pick up another of this component. That is, this is where you're going to be having Lake Manzala. Then that is going to be Bitter Lakes, two of these in this case, and then goes on to open itself in the sea region. This is going to be, we're going to take a look at it from port side to that of Suez. From port side to that of Suez, and it goes into run parallel to that of the Nile River as well. Now these are going to be, there are going to be two of these components here in the Suez Canal. That is a Gulf of Aqaba and Gulf of Suez. So it opens itself in Gulf of Suez, not in Gulf of Aqaba. But you need to know about Gulf of Aqaba as well. So that has been one part. So one of these areas where the Suez goes on to get itself opened up is going to be Gulf of Aqaba. Now understand it that it's going to be open cut without locks. Now the significance is, the question that can be asked here is, consider the following statements regarding Suez Canal. 1. It has 4 lakes. Second, it is open cut without any locks. Third, it is going to be extensive straight length. Then the last, it has 6 bends. Of course, it has 8 bends, but then it has 6 bends for the purpose of confusing you. That is going to be one component in which the question can go on to be framed. Suez Canal has recently been enlarged for the purpose of allowing a very large-scale tankers, ultra-large-scale tankers as well. You can imagine that the size of the tankers is now going to be so large that you can't imagine. And that is where Suez Canal has been working very well in this case. That means it is some of it is going to be allowed, it easily allows a very large scale freighter in this case. And these freighters are full to the brim of sorts in this case. That is going to be one component. You can go to pick up another component associated with Suez Canal. That is, when you are going to be talking about Suez Canal, you are also going to be asked good number of questions with respect to other canals as well. For example, all of these other canals that are going to be important and significant here, one of them is going to be that of CRA, another is going to be that of Panama. And which are the areas? CRA is one canal that is going to be made, but Panama is going to be another canal. Maybe that you are going to be asked a good number of questions comparing Panama with that of Suez. And when we are going to be talking about comparison of Panama with Suez, it basically goes on to signify several components. One of them is there is comparing Panama with Suez will mean that is Panama has a lot of locks, and all of these locks allow the ship to be raised, and then lowered, and lowered. It's a bit narrow. It's not going to be as convenient as that of Suez Canal. Suez Canal goes on to be connecting two continents. One of them is going to be, of course, Asia with Europe. That is how it goes on to be connecting these two continents, Asia with Europe. That's important, and consequently, it has been responsible for shortening the distance between both of these continents. And that has been the most important significant aspect. CRA Canal has been used in Thailand, and it was proposed by the Chinese to be using this canal for the purpose of linking Andaman Sea with that of the Chinese Sea. Of course, it is something that has not been worked because Thailand government refused to give it to China in the wake of the COVID crisis, largely because a good number of countries like Thailand lost trust over China. That means what are the designs of the Chinese and what it is that the Chinese want to do in this case. Chinese have been following, as you know it, there is debt trap diplomacy. They allow a country to take a debt, they are cash rich, they allow a country to take a debt, and then they make the project, they charge it as well, and when the country is not able to repay it, they go to take it. And this is what exactly has been happening in Pakistan. Pakistanis are not finding themselves in any position to pay the debt back to the Chinese. And this is the basic reason that they have been trying to do a lot of politics here, there, and everywhere. That is what the nature of the Pakistanis is, trying to engage China in one way or the other. Let's see what happens. That was Suez Canal. Now, another of this topic is going to be associated with the Brazil Pantanal region. Now, Pantanal region has been important. In fact, in Brazil, associated with Pantanal region, there have been 2-3 regions that have been important, that have been significant. And which have been these 2-3 regions? One of them has been Pantanal, another has been associated with Caatinga. Caatinga have been significant because it was in this region that good number of murders had taken place. People murdered someone and they threw the person in Caatinga. Caatinga is going to be very, very thorny, and that is where the murdered person's bodies have been recovered of sorts. But then, let's talk about Pantanal to begin with. Pantanal in Brazil is going to be world's largest wetland. It's going to be one of the world's largest wetland and a World Heritage Site as well. That's one. It is very, very diverse biome. Diverse because, of course, in terms of biodiversity, it is a tropical region. So you can going to find a good number of plants and animals living in this region in a unison in this place. It is also going to be home to 3 of them that are important: jaguar, that's one, Brazilian native, and the blue macaw, that is going to be important. The whole of this region, Pantanal region, goes a good amount of it goes on to lie in Brazil. Now imagine the question that can be framed out of it. There is one of this question is there is Pantanal is, consider the following statements. Pantanal is the world's largest wetland. Second is that it is going to be it is a home to endangered species of jaguar and that of blue macaw, and that 60% of this wetland lies in Brazil, or maybe 20%, and accordingly you have to mark it out where it is. Or maybe that you are going to be asked, there is the Pantanal region is going to be a transition zone between Bolivia and Paraguay, Brazil, Bolivia and Paraguay. Whether the statement is going to be correct or not in this case. Most of these questions are going to be asked to you in this form. Thus, one component associated with it. Related to Pantanal, not exactly Pantanal, but because Pantanal has been asked, related to Pantanal is going to be another of this place that is going to be called as Gran Chaco in Brazil. And when we are going to be talking about Gran Chaco, we are essentially talking about another region that is going to be talking about Chaco. That means it is in a sense the Brazilian name for that. And you can understand it, it's going to be a low flat alluvial region in this region in South America, and comprising of parts of Argentina, Paraguay and Bolivia, all three of them combined in this case. It's a temperate marshy land. Imagine this word, temperate marshy land. It's not going to be tropical. So Pantanal and Gran Chaco go on to be differing from both of them in terms that one of them is going to be marshy. But when it is going to be dry, it is going to be used for the purpose of cattle rearing. Now, that goes on to be important. Gran Chaco, that means it's very, very large. That is what it means. Then there is a third one that you're going to find it. There is Mato Grosso. Now, Mato Grosso, the name is, if you can go to translate that in English, it will go to imply mat of grass. It is going to be called as a mat of grass. And that is the reason why it is going to be called as Mato Grosso. And it is found in Brazilian highlands. Brazilian highlands, that means wherever Brazil is going to be very, very high. That is in the central part of it. It's an erosional plateau, that means when we eroded, and that is why it has taken the form of a plateau. That means there must have been a mountain some time back, and that got eroded once, twice, thrice, and getting eroded, and it is now in the form of an erosional plateau. And that is what goes on to occupy a very high whole of the central Mato Grosso state. And these are the areas from where it actually goes on to extend. You don't need to know about it. Border of Goiás state, westward to Serra dos Perces, and which is near the Bolivian border. It's only that there are going to be two facts. One of them is going to be mat of grass. Now, this mat of grass is used for the purpose of feeding the cattle in this region. The cattle eat this grass, taken this grass. After having eaten this grass, what these cattle go on to do is that they are sent to Sao Paulo, where they are slaughtered. And when they are going to be slaughtered, then their meat is taken and then they are going to be sent to the whole of the world. And most of these consumers go on to be those countries and those people who are mostly going to be talking about PETA, people for ethical treatment of animals. Animals have been best treated in India, but then PETA has been one of these organizations that use this tool of being welfare oriented towards animals as a weapon. They all going to be using it as a weapon. But then that is what is part of it. So the question that can be possibly asked is, one is going to be taking a look at the location. That's the place that you're going to take a look. That is going to be its location. This location is important, near to our Bolivian border. That's one. It's an erosional plateau, that is going to be second. It's going to be a mat of grass, that is going to be the third one. And of course, it occupies a part of the Brazilian highland in this case. The last of this Brazilian region, which is going to be a mat of grass or grass-like, is going to be Caatinga. And you can understand it. It's almost going to be like that of Kanta and Caatinga. That is Kanta in Hindi and Caatinga. You will understand that part much better once you're going to come to the description of it in a somewhat better manner. First, see that it's a desert vegetation and a thorn forest that's made of thorns. Now, can you imagine? It is so thorny. It's a xeric shrubland and thorn forest that you cannot sometimes go on to take any type of a car, any type of a vehicle inside. In some of the places, it is going to be so thorny. That means it's completely full of shrubs in this case. That's one. Now, the name, of course, it is going to be called by the name white forest or white vegetation. It's almost impenetrable, as we say, almost impenetrable. It's a cacti. Katinga is a cacti. It's a cactus, thick stem plant, and of course, aridity adapted. Aridity adapted. That means there is the amount of rainfall and the arid condition that is going to be required is going to be less in this case. Now, it also goes on to be said with many annual plants grow, flower, and die during the brief rainy season. Either rainy season comes, then what you're going to find is that we are going to be talking about annual plants grow, flower, and die during the very brief rainy season. And when we are going to be talking about a brief rainy season, we are essentially talking about, in this case, some places like that of when there is a rain, then all of a sudden there is a flowering of the plants, and that goes on to happen with most of the deserts. Other wetlands in this region is going to be in India, in Ramsar. You need to know about some of them in India as well. When, of course, when you are going to be talking about Katinga or maybe Mato Grosso, or those which are going to be part of Ramsar, or in Africa, it is going to be Okavango, which is going to be significant. Now, these are the ones that can be used for the purpose of comparison. And if you can go to take a look at the location of it, this is the place where it is going to be located, Katinga region, and that is goes to making it dry. Desert landform is another part. Desert landforms have been used because of two conventions that have taken place with respect to the deserts, and also with respect to how many types of deserts can be there. And there was a classification, reclassification, and of course a good amount of a study on the landforms of the deserts, ostensibly stimulated by the works of one physicist that you don't know the name, of course, so you don't require to know the name, R.A. Bagnault. Anyhow, so the question that is going to be asked on desert landforms is going to be on the landform itself. It's not going to be getting itself deviated, because they will going to ask a question on the desert landform. That is going to be enough, and it is going to be essentially on such type of a topic. Now we understand it, that is all the type of dunes you can go to imagine. So one of them is going to be, let's say, blowout dunes. That's one. A blowout dune is essentially because of an obstruction. So a variant of it is going to be called by the name of parabolic dune. This is going to be a parabolic dune, which is going to be a variant of it. Barricades are the ones that are produced when there is a consistent amount of wind velocity, and not only that, that is the sand supply is also very large. And then, of course, it doesn't go on to be formed because of any type of an obstruction, largely because it is associated with some type of an eddy formation in the winds itself. That is barricade. And then you pick up a parabolic dunes. Barricanoid ridges are an essential variant of what we're going to be calling it as transverse dune. Now, transverse dunes are going to be transverse to the direction of the wind. And these dunes, which are transverse, where again sands are going to be very, very large. That is one. Barricanoid ridges go on to form when maybe in two ways. Either one of the horns of the barricade dune is going to be completely demolished because of a change in the wind direction, or it is going to be because of some type of an obstruction effect that is going to be with respect to that. And lastly, you have a dome dune. Now, dome dune is it's like a dome. That is when the winds keep on varying in the deserts and keep on converging from every side. That is what they're going to lead to formation of a dome dune. There are other forms of dune as well. When the winds go on to keep on blowing in the same direction, in a similar direction, that goes on to lead to the formation of a longitudinal dune. And some of the variants of longitudinal dunes can go on to be some of the dunes which are going to be sword-like. That is going to be called by the name of seaf. That is going to be a longitudinal dune. And when you're going to find that the winds are going to be moving from in different directions, and they're going to converge, leading to formation of a huge dune in the center that is going to be called by the name of a star dune. That is what is present in this place. And other than that, you're going to find there are going to be good number of some obstructions and also some of the type of landscapes which are associated with serrated ridges that go on to be given a different name. And these are the type of shrubs and obstructions that are going to be found in the region. Now, you're going to be also knowing something about what we're going to talk of. Dunes can go on to be found even in the coastal areas. And it is this coastal area where you're going to be having a berm crest, a dune, all in all. Now, this is what is significant because in the coastal area, there is always going to be a berm ditch combination. Berm is something that is going to be high, and a ditch is something that is going to be almost like that of a ditch. Actually, it is going to be a depression. Berm is almost going to be like that of a ridge in this case. That was desert. Tropical cyclones have been used because of a variety of regions. One of them had been that is tropical cyclones ravaged India's western coast at this time, and there were two of these tropical cyclones that affected India. One of these tropical cyclones took place and that was not during the season at all. That was before the advent of the monsoons. In fact, both of them were before the monsoons, and this is unusual. Now, question related to tropical cyclone formation in India can go on to be studied with many factors and many things, beginning with one. The first is going to be the path taken by Tuatha. That is going to be one of them. The second can go on to be associated with one of those cyclones that have traveled the longest distance, and that was one of the cyclones that traveled all the way from Andaman Sea last year, year before last, and affected Gujarat, curving around Kerala. That has been one of the longest of the tropical cyclones which have traveled over water. Now, that goes on to bring us a question. Why is it that, and what are the factors that allow a tropical cyclone to move forward long distances over water bodies? So, of course, it is going to be the temperature of the water that allows it to move over water over such a distance. That is going to be the third aspect. And then that goes on to bring you in terms of some of the questions that can be hidden, that can be asked. Why is it that tropical cyclones are not a surety before the monsoons, before the advent of the monsoon? The basic answer in this case is going to be there is a general absence of low-level disturbances or cyclonic disturbances, or what we're going to be calling is Stirling waves in the region. That has been one. Second has been that is before the monsoons, the temperature is not going to be high. It's only by September and October, which is going to be the breeding ground for such type of tropical cyclones. Now, the fifth question can go on to be associated with the areas that have been picked up by Tuatha to ravage the region and the path taken by it, because an extension of it has been found all the way even to the northern part of the country. And then associated with tropical cyclone are going to be all the components of it. For example, what is the eye of the cyclone? That is one. Second is associated with the outer convective zone. Why is it that the farmers are said that is they shouldn't go to the beach the moment the cyclone goes on to fall silent? This is largely because they may be moving in the eye of the cyclone, and when they're going to be moving in the eye of the cyclone, that is always going to be creating a problem, because just after the eye of the cyclone, what is going to happen is there is the eye wall is going to strike the region. Then there can be a seventh question associated with it. There is with respect to cyclone, what have been the mitigation strategies that have been followed in the country? Now, this is very simple. One question can go on to be framed out of it, and the agencies that are associated with checking of it. Maybe some of these questions are always going to be associated with the fact of the conceptual part, and which is what we are going to be talking about. Why is it that tropical cyclones don't go on to take place to such an extent and with such a frequency during the monsoons? Now, the answer for that is going to be tropical easterly jet stream, which keeps on hovering over India. And it is this type of a jet stream that keeps on hovering over India, and that is the way that it keeps on hovering over India. You can go on to understand it in a different manner here. That is picking up this case. That is these tropical easterly jet streams, they That's the way that they go on to keep on hovering over the country. And because of it, that causes wind shear. And because it causes wind shear, tropical cyclones don't go on to form with so much amount of intensity. There are going to be other factors, that is the intensity of the tropical cyclones and the frequency of the tropical cyclones have kept on increasing. So what are the factors that have led to an increase in the intensity and frequency of the cyclones? Of course, one of them, and the most important in this case, has been the so-called global warming. And I'm using the word so-called because it is actually so-called. It's not that one can go on to prove with a certainty that it has been taking place. And maybe that I have used it, you don't have to talk about it. That is a prelims examination is going to be all about facts and how is it that you represent it. It's not about any viewpoint in this case at all. Mostly, tropical cyclones don't go on to affect Mumbai. This is going to be another component. Why is it that the tropical cyclones don't go to affect Mumbai as much? And how is it that the tropical cyclones go on to turn then somewhere towards Oman and other regions? And that had been the basic reason that they don't going to affect the coastal regions. These are the type of questions that can possibly be asked from the region, from the topic here. There is another of this part that is going to be, it's not going to be too important or too diverse a topic. It's going to be important nevertheless. And that is a rotation of the earth and how is it that it can go to influence the currents. It should have been an extension of the currents. But then whenever the speed of the currents go on to increase, that has an effect on the rotation of the earth. So if it is that Gulf Stream and North Atlantic Drift is not going to be that much amount that is strong as it used to be, then that is going to be affecting the rotation of the earth. And if the earth's rotation goes on to decrease, then there are going to be a series of effects, domino effect, one after another, and so on and so forth. Picking up the next topic that is going to be important this year's point of view, and that is going to be jet stream. Now, why is it that the topic of jet stream is important is because it was jet stream that was largely responsible for two things. One was the formation of the heat dome, that was jet stream, and the second was that is this jet stream had also been associated with a certain type of anomaly in the Siberian region, that is Siberian high. It was also responsible for a certain type of problems that were taking place in the Arctic region. So all in all, jet streams have been in news. Now that means that all the type of questions and possibly a variety of type of questions that can be framed out of it. Now there are going to be two jet streams that are significant and three jet streams that are significant. One of the jet streams in the beginning of this year, 2021, had been responsible for breaking the Arctic vortex and disrupting the Arctic vortex and bringing a lot of cold air to a place as far as that of New York. That has been a component concerned with it, associated with it as well. Picking up this aspect, you can go to take it forward from here onwards. How is it that you can go to take it onwards? That is, one of them in this case is what are jet streams? That is, where exactly is it that they're going to flow? Now, most of the jet streams go on to be flowing in the troposphere or in the upper troposphere or in the lower part of the stratosphere. That's one. Second is these are meandering winds. As you can go to take a look at it, that's the way that they're going to move. They are meandering and they're going to move from west to east. Their discovery has been associated with the movement of the Japanese and American aeroplanes in the Second World War. Now they are said to be, that is, these jet streams are said to be influencing the whole of the weather condition. And the third part is that is the behavior of the jet streams. Jet streams go on to converge on the surface. They go on to converge on the surface and then they go on to rise. And when we say that they are going to be converging and then they are rising, that basically means that they come down onto the surface, and wherever they come down, they lead to high pressure. Wherever they're going to get uplifted, they lead to low pressure. So low pressure, high pressure on the surface is actually associated with the jet stream in this case. The fourth part is What has happened this time is jet streams are the one which have been responsible for formation of the Arctic vortex. That is, this is where Arctic vortex has been. That's the way. And jet streams have been confining it from every side. This is how exactly the Arctic vortex goes on to be in the polar areas. That's the area that the jet streams go on to be in this case. Now, in all of this area, when we are going to be talking about all of this area, whole of it, the jet streams go on to move in such a manner and they go on to break down. And because of this breakdown, a good amount of cold winds from the Arctic region go on. They affect North America, they go on to affect Canada and adjoining areas and adjoining regions. Then coming to other component of it, what has happened this time is during this time, the jet streams have been responsible for confining a small air, which was a warm air, and after having confined this amount of an air, they placed it on the in North America. Now that was the place where they placed it in North America. That was the region, and they have been responsible for confining some of these, which was responsible for the formation of the heat dome, and that is what has made in news. There was another of this phenomenon that took place, and that was going to be in this region. That was going to be North America, towards the eastern portion of North America. The third aspect has been jet streams which took place over India, and it's not shown in this place, but some of these jet streams that originated over India, and these subtropical jet streams, they were responsible for taking a warmer air over Siberia. And over Siberia, they have been associated with the formation of the Siberian fires. The Siberian fire has been one of these regions for a lot of anomaly that had taken place in whole of Siberia. Now, other than that, of course, you understand that jet streams have been largely influencing of the weather condition everywhere in the whole of the world. But then these are the topics from where the questions are likely to be asked. Tropical rainforests have been significant because of many reasons. One of them have been associated with the Brazilian fire, that have been one. Second has been associated with some of the concepts concerned with conservation of the Amazonian forest. Now, Amazonian forest is going to be one of these topics, and then everything associated with Amazonian forest, something that is exceptional out of it. Now, one of these questions that you can go to understand it, which are the countries that are not going to be affected by the Amazonian forest? And when we are going to be talking about it, we are indeed talking about it in a different manner. We are talking about, that is, one of them is Brazil, one, Bolivia, another one, Peru is going to be another one, Ecuador, Colombia, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Now, Suriname is significant. The name is Suriname. And that will go to strike the examiner about it. And what it will go to strike in the examiner is Suriname is one area where good amount of Hindi is spoken. A good number of Indian people happen to be living in this place. Guyana and Suriname, both of them. And that is going to be British Guiana, not in French Guiana. So there are 9 countries. Now, the question that can be asked to you is, which of the following countries do not go on to be having a spread of the Amazonian forest? And they may go on to give the name of something like Panama. They may go on to give you the name like that of Paraguay. They may go on to give you the name of, in this case, find it, something that is missing in this place, Chile. That is going to be part of it, or Uruguay, that is going to be a part of it. They are not going to be concerned of it. Now, that is going to be one question. Second is, of course, all the type of questions that can be associated with the vegetation of it. Now, while we go on to pick up the most important section that can go on to be news. So one of them has been, of course, anaconda. This is something that is most of the children are very fond of. These anacondas are going to be, they are associated with semi-aquatic snakes. And when we're going to be talking about semi-aquatic snakes, we are talking about they don't going to live completely in the river. Where do they going to live? They live in a place which is marshy, where they can just going to get themselves soaked. And imagine a 32 feet of snake lying in that region is a sight in itself. So anacondas don't going to grow to 32 feet of sorts and even bigger than that. The basic reason in this case is why is it that they don't going to grow is a good number of anacondas are killed even before they go on to grow to a full size. And that is a real worrisome sight. Anaconda is going to take a good amount of time to grow to that type of a size. But then they are majestic animals. That's the largest snake in the whole of the world, and they're known for their swimming abilities. That is going to be the most important component. That is known for its swimming ability. And that is going to be the most important component. They are vegetarian, of course, in that sense. That is, they don't go on to hunt for it. Of course, they're going to suck some of those prey the way that they want to do it. Other than that, maybe you can go to talk about it shouldn't going to be carrying any type of a filmy notion associated with it in this case. And it's a common name for the genus Unectus, a genus of boa. That is, boa is going to be a type of a snake, and it is a part of it. When we go to say constrictor boa, that is anaconda is also a part of it, and that goes on to make it very, very significant. This is what is going to be associated with anacondas. They are one of the most gentle snakes you can go to think of. And even if it is that when they go to pray for it, they're going to try to suck up the whole of the organism which they want to eat. And also they're going to squeeze it out as well. Of course, any snake that is going to be over 32 feet is always going to be stronger. And this is the longest snake and the biggest snake in the whole of the world. Orangutan have been in news. And why is it that we're going to say that these type of orangutans have been in news, and you can go to see them dancing and enjoying? You will go to feel doing the same thing after your prelims examination is going to be over. It's a Malayan word. The Malayan word in this case goes on to mean person of the forest. That means a person who goes on to own the forest. The long-haired orang primates are found only in Sumatra and Borneo, nowhere else. It's not that you will go to find some of these orangutans in places like that of India, except for the fact that you may call some of your friends by the name of orangutan if they're going to behave in such a manner. But other than that, the animal otherwise is not going to be found in the country. It's not going to be found in India. They are intelligent and, of course, close relatives of human beings in the sense that they can go to imitate you. They can go to actually imitate you, and they can go to dance like you. If you can go to play some of these songs from movies of Mumbai, then you can go on to see how is it that they can go on to be a much better adept dancer than you can go to sometimes think of also. They are known for their distinctive fur, and that is going to be significant here. And we are talking about fur. That's the red fur that we go on to associate with, and they are largest arboreal mammal. The name is significant that we are going to be talking about arboreal mammal. There is no other name that is important here other than arboreal mammal. And they live on trees. They don't go to be living in caves. Now that is where they can go, where the examiner can go on to confuse a question setter can go on to confuse you. That they go on to be living in caves. They live in trees and they are avid tree livers in this case. Their proportion also is going to be that we're going to talk about, that is distribution, the whole of this region of Borneo, Kalimantan, Sumatra. These are the areas where they may be found, but in this case, that is where they are likely to be found. Other is going to be Karevas. That is Kashmir and Kareva. Kashmir has been in news because of a variety of reasons. Kareva has been in news largely because some new type of research that has taken place that shows a good number of co-relationship of the origin of the Vedic civilization and other things associated with it and connected to it also. And that is what is the main source of the question. When we are going to be talking about Karevas, then certain reasons are significant. First is, it's a basin in the Tethyan realm of Kashmir. that is basin. The word is going to be Karewa Basin, and the deposits, of course, they are going to be deposits. Second is they were formed when the whole of Kashmir was elevated. Now consider this part. Now there was a lake in this zone. That is, this is the profile of Kashmir. You have Pir Panjal ranges, then you have the Great Himalayan ranges. In between there was a big lake. Now this big lake got itself filled up. And why is it that it got filled up? It got filled up, it was filling up. And what happened to the lake? The lake ultimately got itself drained. And that drained through what we're going to be calling a Baramulla Pass. So it drained, and the deposit that were built up, that is what is called as Karewa Basin. Now, good number of people go on to be building their houses in the Karewa region, and that is not something that is going to be suggestive. Kathmandu Basin, Karewa Basin should not go on to be the regions where someone should go on to build their houses, and that too taller houses. Why? Because the foundation in this case is not going to be strong. It is going to be weak. That is what is important. So it was found when it was elevated, and of course, and the vast Indo-Gangetic basin developed in front of the rising Shivalik also formed. Now this is significant, this information, because Karewa formation goes on to be having a co-relationship with the formation of the Indo-Gangetic plain. That is what is important and significant here. So after that, there was a Holocene phase, and during Holocene phase, Indo-Gangetic plain kept on evolving. These are also intermountain rocks, intermountain, that is between two of these mountains, exposed in the Kashmir Valley, and also that is because it's a deposit, and it's a soft deposit. This can go on to be significant from another angle as well. It's a soft deposit, and also a deposit that is going to be productive as well, which can go on to lead to a productive asset as well at the same time. That is what has been called by the name of Karewas. The most important in this case is the diagram, that one diagram that you can go to remember or imagine. That is, how is it that the Karewas formed here? There has been a solar storm this time, and this solar storm has ostensibly stimulated the examiner's mind to ask a good number of questions. Now, questions on solar storms go on to be associated with, of course, science and technology. How is it that it can be tackled? How is it that it can be checked? One of these impacts of solar flares and a solar storm is going to be in the form of an increase in the frequency of the auroral display, because these are high intensity winds, high intensity magnetic storms of sorts, which do go on to cause such type of a formation that you're going to see it here. And auroras are simply wonderful. I mean, God has given you eyes essentially to see the aurora at least once in your lifetime. Now, there are three types of questions that can be possibly asked from that. One of them is going to be associated with the mechanism of the formation of a aurora. And second is it that aurora is going to be found on the other planets? Coming to the first question, aurora indeed is going to be found on the other planets, and that is associated with solar storms. Because the topic is going to be solar storm, that's why this is one question that is going to be significant. So it is going to be found in Jupiter, it is going to be found in Saturn, and even on Earth, when you're going to take a look at it, you're going to see dancing aurora all in the polar regions if you happen to be taking a look at it from space. If you happen to take a look at it from space, you're going to see the whole of aurora dancing in this place. And of course, that is a sight. So, coming to solar storm, that is the original topic here. A solar storm is essentially a disturbance. That is, it's a disturbance on the sun's surface. It's a disturbance on the sun's surface, and you can go to understand it. Having taken a look at this diagram, you will be able to understand it. Some type of disturbance is taking place, and what happens is that is a part of it goes on to blow out. It goes on to get self-detached away from this place, and because of an increase in temperature, and of course the flares go on to become very high, and it is this storm that finds itself moving towards the whole of the Earth. Now, when these winds it will go on to bring something what we're going to be calling it a magnetic storm on the surface of the Earth. So, a solar storm is essentially a disturbance on the sun. That is number one, which can emanate outward from the heliosphere. That is, of course, from the sun. Heliosphere is going to be another name. Take a look at it, because anything has to do with sun, and the synonymous names are going to be always significant, Helios and so on, affecting the entire of the solar system, including Earth and its magnetosphere. That is, when it goes on to affect the Earth, there is a protective shield that we're going to be calling it, that is going to be called as magnetosphere. So when it collides with magnetosphere, what it goes on to do is that it goes on to transfer this energy to the magnetosphere. And after transferring this energy to the magnetosphere, it is able to vibrate the particles in this place. So it is going to be the molecules and the atoms that will start vibrating. And in that process, they're going to imbibe a lot of energy. And in that process, they are also responsible for allowing it to glow. And that is how exactly that is going to be caused. So aurora is going to be caused. So it's a cause of a space weather in short term and long term. And of course, we're going to be talking about something called a space climate. Now, because a question was asked in the mains examination on a space climate and associated with it, that is why this is likelihood that there is always going to be a topic that is going to be asked here as well in this case. That is solar storm. Now, from current affairs, you're going to be having another topic here. That is a topic that is a topic that has been significant because of Nagorno-Karabakh. It is the war that has taken place in Nagorno-Karabakh region, that Caucasus region has been significant. And we are talking about Caucasus because the topic is going to be from the perspective of geography. Of course, we are talking about the appendages and the offshoots associated with it. How is it that some of these other questions can possibly be asked? But then, how is it that it can be seen in a topic like that of geography? It is a region between Black Sea and that of Caspian Sea. This is where it is going to be Caspian Sea and Black Sea. That's the region, all of it. Now, two things, because that is going to be sea, Black Sea and Caspian Sea, both of these are going to be asked to you in some form of a question. Now, Black Sea was sometime, it's black in color, and of course it's darker, its water is going to be darker in color. This is one of the sea that is going to be called by the name of Euxine Sea. That is the name given to it, Euxine. Now, Euxine means where the vegetative matter goes on to decompose under anaerobic condition, and that is called as Euxine. Second is Caspian Sea. Now, there has been a good amount of hue and cry about Caspian Sea, not so much, but then when we say that is Caspian Sea has been significant and important, it is largely on account of that is, why is it has been named. So Caspian Sea has been named after one of the sages in India, Rishi Kashyap, and that is how exactly it existed. Now, for some of the people who do not going to know that India's empire at one point of a time existed up till Caspian Sea, and that was during the time of Samudragupta and Lalitaditya, that the whole of this region used to be ruled by India. That has been one factor. Now, Caucasus, we go on to talk about Caucasus. Now, Caucasus mountains are going to be shared by Russia and Georgia. Georgia is going to be important, and all the countries here, and understand that. That is, we are going to be talking about countries. So, Turkey is one. Now, Turkey is going to be close to that of Armenia. Turkey is going to be close to that of Iran. And Iran is going to be close to that of Azerbaijan. Russia is also going to be close to that of Georgia. That means all the countries can go on to play a part in augmenting the trouble in this place, or fomenting a trouble as well. And this has been the case with Nagorno-Karabakh. That is the region that we are talking about. That has been one. So it is a region between Black Sea and Caspian Sea, and occupied by Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, and parts of southern Russia. Caucasus mountains are a natural barrier between Europe and Asia. That means when exactly is it that they're formed? They're formed at the same time when the alpine mountains were being formed. So it is going to be a young It is going to be a young mountain like that of the Himalayas. So that is going to be one comparison, and you can always go to understand that is Caucasus are going to be part of it, and also because they are part of a young mountain chain, that's the basic reason that you're going to find in this place that highest mountain of Europe, Mount Elburz. Now there are going to be two of them, Elbruz and Elburz. One of them is in Iran, and another of them is going to be in this place, Mount Demawan. Three of these mountains that you need to remember and differentiate it that way. Mount Elbruz, that is one. Mount Elburz, that is going to be in Iran, and Demawan as well, that is going to be in Iran. There's another of this team, that is a Javakheti Plateau, which grows into Armenian highlands and located in Turkey, and that is why Turkey is in a position to create certain type of a problem in this region. Or in this enclave, that is, we are talking about Nagorno-Karabakh. Caucasus falls in two continents. There is the North Caucasus, which is going to be part of Russia, and that is in Europe. And the South Caucasus, which is a Transcaucasus, that is going to be part of Asia. Now, the entire region of Caucasus is going to be pretty rich in terms of oil deposits. This is a region pretty rich in terms of oil deposits, whole of it. And this is the place you will also going to find Baku-Tbilisi pipeline. That is it's going to be known by it. That is a TBS pipeline. That is a Tbilisi, Baku, and Azerbaijan pipeline. That is going to be a hot geopolitical area. And this is a place where good number of countries going to meet, and they keep on creating trouble, keep on fomenting trouble, and they keep on allowing it to grow as well. Poor people, they are the one who are going to be suffering out of it. We have already talked about Ethiopian region, and one of these most important of these Ethiopian regions happen to be associated with Dalol geothermal field. That's what we are talking about. We talked about while dealing with it, we talked about the region associated with Danakil Depression, and that's an extension of it. That's where you're going to find it. That's the place which is going to be part of it, and that's the salt flat. This is Dalol salt flat in this region, and that's where you're going to have a geothermal mound, and this is created because of course, how is it that magma comes up and magma finds its way into it that Dalol has been created. And Dalol has been significant only because of one reason, and that reason has been because Ethiopia has been in use, maybe Danakil Depression has been used, and that is why it has also been in use. And then it is a region known for aquatic environment and complete absence of any form of life. It is rare. It's rare that you go to find something on the earth where there is complete absence of life. And that is why this region is a region which is going to be known for its studies, which can go to help us understand how is it that life evolved and so on and so forth. Now, the hot hyperacid ponds of Dalol could help understand the limits of habitability, and that is why we are talking about that is how is it that it can go to help understand astrobiologist on about the presence of life, or maybe even about the presence of liquid water as well in this case. That is significant, that is important in this area. Perhaps there is no topic that is going to be as important as that of Afghanistan. This is largely because it has been one of these days has been a seminal day and a watershed day in the whole of the geopolitics of the world. So imagine any type of a question from Afghanistan and that is going to be asked there. We'll just let you know that is simplify your job of understanding Afghanistan and getting to know about the whole of the topic here. Now to pick it up, we'll go on to begin from here, from the eastern portion of Afghanistan. Now talking about it, the first part is going to be associated with what we're going to be calling it is Wakhan Corridor. Now, for you to understand it, Wakhan Corridor is going to be one of these regions where you find this was a topic that was studied comprehensively by General V.K. Sinha He's our minister right now, and he was a general also in army some time back. It has been a research area, and it is a control over Wakhan corridor that if we can go to be having it, we will go on to be much better placed while in much better place in terms of getting ourselves connected to the whole of Central Asia. So it's a narrow strip of land that connects Afghanistan to China, running into Pakistan and Tajikistan. That is going to be important. And it served as a critical junction during Silk Route since its inception. That is where it is significant. So you can go to have a question on Wakhan corridor. That is, consider the following facts about the Wakhan corridor. Which of them is going to be correct? That is going to be one. Second is, of course, going to be Jalalabad. Now, Jalalabad is going to be the bordering town of Pakistan and known for its mining activity in this place. Now, this was also one of these places you must go to know, that is, Afghanistan was largely a Buddhist country, but then all of these Muslims in this place, they killed those people, like they have been killing it everywhere in the whole of it. And for you to understand it, Iran was Zoroastrianism, that they all of them were killed or driven out, and that was captured by Muslims in that place. Afghanistan was Buddhist. That was also captured by now that has been captured by the Muslims. Pakistan was the Hindu place. That has also been captured. The same has been with respect to other regions in the whole of the region. Myanmar has been partly, it's not completely, but then Jalalabad is one of those places where you're going to find a good number of Buddhist scriptures and other components associated with it. That's the place that you're going to find Kabul. Kabul had been, you need to understand that part. Kabul has been one of those places where Kumbhakarn used to reside. Kumbhakarn ka Kumbha, that is what is called as Kabul. That is how exactly it has been named. And a good number of names in this place go on to bear an Indian imprint, completely Indian imprint, and you will go on to understand it. Pick up Kabul once again. In this case, as we talked about, Kabul is the political and the cultural center. We talk about what exactly is significant. It is drained by the Kabul River as well. In this case, Ghazni is one of those places where, of course, it is taught in India. It is not at all significant in Afghanistan and Pakistan at all. It's taught in India, and you will understand it. It is taught in India that Ghazni attacked India, pulverized India. It's only to allow the Indian people to feel inferior about it. Otherwise, this man has no significance anywhere in this region. But then there is a town called as Ghazni in this case. Kandahar is going to be known for it was an earlier town that was called as Gandhar, and Gandhar, that means Gandhari, and that is how exactly it has been known for. Whole of Kandahar region. The area that is going to be lying towards the west of Kandahar is going to be known for its opium production. That is the main region known for opium production. And then Durand line, which is going to be towards south of Afghanistan, and that is where it goes on to form a boundary with what we're going to be calling it as Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now, picking up other regions, you will go on to find a place called as Farah. These are the places, the western portion of it, that are going to be very, very hot. So, the whole of Afghanistan is going to be known for some of these mountains, that is Hindu Kush mountains in the eastern portion, northern portion, the western portion. And Hindu Kush mountains again has been where Hindus have been killed mercilessly. That is what exactly is the meaning of it, and known for it as well in this case. And most of these people enjoyed killing Hindus in this place. Of course, the Westerners and all of those so-called leftists, they will go on to keep on hiding it. I don't know for what reason, but then that is the way they have been so. Now, this is also one of these places we're going to find that is going to be significant. That's the source of two rivers in Kazakhstan, Amur Darya and Sir Darya. They're going to be affecting it. So, Amur Darya goes on to be in this place, and that goes on to flow towards Turkmenistan in this region. North of it, you need to know the countries as well. Herat is, of course, is a part of it. So you may be asked about that is a arrangement of the cities from north to south. Herat, Farah, Lakshgarh, Kandahar. Maybe it's going to be here as well. There's Phul Kumari, Sherbag, Ghazni, and then Kabul. Now, this is one of the ways in which you can go to understand the whole of Afghanistan. That is one part of understanding it. Second is coming to it. This is where you're going to find Hindu Kush Mountains. As we talked about, that is the meaning of this name, Hindu Kush Mountains, that is one. And the whole of this region is going to be known for it. The highest point is going to be Mount Noshak. That's important because these are the type of questions that the questions that is going to ask to tease young and innocent people like you, to tease and torment you. But we can't help it. We have talked about that part. You must go to understand that is which are the countries that are going to be surrounding it. Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, or Turkmenistan. In which way it is going to be? It is going to be Uzbekistan. That is going to be one. It's going to be Uzbekistan. It's going to be Tajikistan. In this case, these are the places that are going to be affecting it. Towards the west of it lies Iran. This is the place that goes into Iran. And Turkmenistan, that is going to be one of them. Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan. It's a landlocked country. So T-U-T. T-U-T. That is Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan. That's the way that you can go to remember it. That is simply meaning two, tooth. And then western portion is Iran. And of course, it is going to be easy to know that Pakistan goes on to surround it from every side, even now as well. You understand that that is going to be towards the southern side, Registan desert in this place, and is going to be that close to that of Kandahar. Kandahar that we're going to be talking about. Of course, this has been now Islamicized completely in this case. It is this desert that is going to be having in the western portion of it, that is some of the highest temperatures found in Afghanistan. Now, also find it in this region, that is Nangarhar. That is a significant place. All the places that are going to be close to that of Pakistan, they are important. Nangarhar has been a place which has been experimented by United States as well by dropping a bomb, and that is one of those places where they dropped the largest bomb imaginable to understand it, and that was mother of all bombs that they called it. So that is what has been Nangarhar. Of course, this is the topic that is not going to be asked, the mother of all bombs, but then the name of the place is going to be significant here. Coming to another part of it, we are going to be talking about the projects India has in this region. And when we are going to be talking about some of these projects, understand these projects, where are they and why is it that they are going to be significant? So one of them is going to be Jaranjan Dilaram. That is, this is how exactly India wanted to enter into it, through Jaranj and Dilaram. This is the way that India wanted to enter. And from here, its aim was to go towards Turkmenistan. So it wanted to connect the whole of Afghanistan, but then that is not going to be possible. So from Chabahar in Iran to Jaranj, and then to Dilaram, and then to Herat, and then so on. Of course, it was also going to be connected to Mazar-e-Sharif and then to Uzbekistan as well. Mazar-e-Sharif is going to be important, of course. It's important from the perspective of how is it that the Americans withdrew from the region. I mean, Mazar-e-Sharif, that is significant. Then you go to talk of some of these places like that of Kandahar. It has been significant, but coming to one of them is going to be Jaranj and Dilaram. Second is Phul Khumbri to Kabul. It's a transmission line that India is manufacturing or creating in that place. It's the Herat is going to be known for the Salma Dam that India has built up in this place, which will be sooner or later blown by, is going to be definitely going to be blown by the Muslims in this region. Then the Afghan Parliament and the Indira Gandhi Institute of Child Health Development, that is, both of them are going to be in Kabul. And then a substation, Chimmatla, that's significant here. Now, these are the areas where India has made substantial investment in Afghanistan. So one question on this part is definitely going to be there with you and for you. Now, these are significant aspects of internally displaced people, opium, poppy cultivation, and Afghanistan are going to be known for it. At one point of a time, they processed opium to such an extent that opium cultivation has been working throughout the whole of the world, and their aim was to intoxicate the Punjabi population and Indian population, which they are doing it very effectively, and Punjabis are liking it as well. These are internally displaced people and the number associated with it. Afghanistan has been real turmoil, and it goes on to show the degree and the extent of internally displaced people. Pick up another aspect of it, that is the refugee population here. And of course, when they are going to be internally displaced, they will going to find themselves refugees in almost every place. Now understand this part. So where is it that these people go on to move? Of course, from Afghanistan, they go on to move towards, that is going to be Iran, good number of it. They have come to Pakistan as well. Pakistan is going to be taking it, training it, making them terrorists, and then sending it to India. That is what has been their aim. They cannot go on to go to China. It's simply not possible. But they have been to Tajikistan. Dushanbe is going to be the important place here in Tajikistan, in Uzbekistan. Now, what has happened is almost all of these Islamic countries, they have blocked the movement of these people coming towards them. And the general geopolitics, of course, that is something that you must have known it. The general geopolitics in this case is that is, these Muslims must go to every country. Sooner or later, they are being converted into a terrorist, or they will be converted. So no Muslim country is taking these refugees and they will be blaming, all of them will be blaming India for the proper India. Why is it not India is not taking them as refugees in this case? But no Muslim country is taking it. But then that is a politics. That is where you don't have to get yourself involved, because UPSC creates enough difficult situation for you to be getting involved in the prelims examination. And we understand that is why is it that you should be concerned about international politics when you should be more worried about the politics that UPSC plays with innocent people like you by putting difficult questions to you. And in this case, we only can go to wish you all the best.
To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.